with the death of his wife, Stacy Fouts, with a virus, Darby Bird's husband, Kevin, in the hospital, Frank Underwood, who will be having surgery tomorrow. We are grateful for God's mercy and blessing as we celebrate this first Sunday of Advent, that we are looking forward to God's coming, that he will bless us and bless us each one. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for the opportunities that we have to serve you through the Maryland State Firemen's Association. I pray, Lord, for each of our companies that we come from, that you would bless them. Thank you, Lord, for your love and for your mercy. Thank you, Lord, for this season of Advent, that we might know and are considered in our own hearts that you will be coming, and we look forward to that day. Lord, bless us and bless all those who we named this morning. Continue to guide them and direct them. We pray for healing, Lord, and where it's needed, that you would give them strength and honor. Continue to bless us now. Bless the ministry of this association. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, good morning and welcome. Mr. President, you have any opening words?
Good morning, everyone. A little foggy for the travel. Glad everybody made it here safe. I don't think we have a whole lot of business to conduct this morning, but we'll get you out of here as soon as we can. And I appreciate everybody's return from yesterday, and hope we have a good meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I'd like to introduce Susan Mott, President of the Carroll County Volunteer Emergency Services Organization, for a few words.
Good morning. Oh my goodness, I'm a little too short for this. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? I'm fine. I can adjust. Can you hear me okay? Good. Thank you very much for coming to Carroll County. I don't want to take anything away from President Dan Plunkett, but we are very honored to have you here in Carroll County. The volunteers here in Carroll County work very hard every day to make sure that the citizens of this community are cared for with EMS and fire. We are struggling like the rest of the state with recruitment and retention. We are finding that the younger generation is a very instant gratification group, and if you tell them that they need to study for 6 months or longer to be able to play on the toys that they want to play on, they don't want to hear about that. We're also struggling with recruitment and retention in the fact that at my particular station, which is Pleasant Valley Community Fire Company, if you have a fire after midnight, you're not seeing anybody that's under the age of 50. So it is a struggle, and I am honored to be a part of this leadership as MSFA that is working so hard to make sure that volunteerism stays firm in not only Carroll County, but in the state of Maryland. And I want to thank all of you for what you do and what you bring to the citizens of the state of Maryland. And I thank you for the honor of being here and speaking with you today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for your commitment to Carroll County and the volunteers here. We greatly appreciate the hospitality and everything that you do. Okay, we'll start off this morning with the convention branch, and that'll be followed by the finance branch. So there's a lot of duplication there, so we'll go one into the other. Mr. Chairman. Stand by. Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Chairman, just as an addition here, I'd like to introduce the past president, Dave Lewis, who is with us this evening also, was not able to be with us yesterday.
Good to see you, Dave.
Yeah. All right, sorry about that. So a few things have been going on with the convention. As some of you may well know, we held the critique for the 2023 convention on July 24th at Odington. Some of the event statistics, Jolly Rogers was at 1,000 attendees, which was the same as the year before. Prayer breakfast sales were a little bit, they leveled out. The year before, we had taken a pretty good hit, but they leveled out for this past year. Memorial service had 1,100 people in attendance, and the opening ceremonies had 800 people in attendance. We are putting together the first planning meeting, will be scheduled in January. And a couple items that we've got to address is the Sunday basket bingo at VFW. They're interested in coming back to the convention center if at all possible. How we're going to work out any additions to the prayer breakfast. We will be sitting down with Chaplain Long to have that discussion. We do want to keep the class sizes where they were. We reduced the number of training opportunities, and that seemed to allow the classes we had to have a much more fuller attendance. So we're going to stay that direction. We are doing more electronic distribution of the convention materials and also better advertisement of the educational programs. We have been working to develop some sponsorships, and we are working with the Ocean City hotels to try and facilitate a couple of programs. One, the host hotel being the Grand, but some hotel discounts for the vendors. That's one of the pieces we continue to hear about. Our vendors say the cost for them to come to Ocean City, especially since we reduced the number of days of the exhibits, they're concerned about that. They'd like to see if we could get some kind of partnership with one of the hotels where they could stay at a better fixed rate. So we will be working through that. I know Kate might have a few things to add. So we do need to schedule a visit to Ocean City probably after the first of the year to see what is new and going on. We know that the cost for the convention center is going up. We've received a 2-year proposal from the convention center. We have not signed it yet, only because there was a little bit of undercurrent about possibly looking to move from Ocean City. I think that may be dead, but I did not sign the contract yet. Wait until we had a sense of where that was going to go. And then if you read a couple of recent articles, the convention center has issued a change in their policy. Those organizations that have been long-standing customers, renters, if they are not of a certain caliber of revenue brought into the city, they will not have a preference for getting the convention center. So there was an article in the paper about that. Fortunately, the MSFA is not in that category, but they've established an economic number that the convention or show has to bring in order to get preferential treatment in getting reservation in the convention center. It's all about the money, guys and gals. It's all about the money. So we're going to follow that and kind of monitor that. A couple things that we're trying to address is the hotels, as I mentioned. We do need to sit down and look at the awards again. We had less complaints this past year about awards as we did the year before, but there still was some grumblings on that. Looks like the bus pass location worked out. We didn't have any complaints there. The outside exhibit space, Kate's going to talk about exhibits. I'll leave that alone. And we're starting to plug away. January we'll start the meeting cycle and start pulling all the activities for the convention together. So Kate, if you want to hit exhibits.
Thank you, Ron. So for exhibits, we're going to keep the same schedule as last year. There was some conversation last year that we may have tweaked it a little bit, but I think just for ease of use sake, we're just going to keep it the same. We are, as Ron mentioned, working with some hotel chains. So far, we have 6 that are looking to offer some discounts to our vendors, especially for that Saturday and Sunday night hotel stay that was pretty astronomical for some of our vendors. So they have deep discounts for those, especially for those 2 nights for the vendors. So we're working to get that information to the vendors first, let them see if that kind of appeases them a little bit with the costs, and work from there. For For the outside vendors, we're going to keep that the same. We may add one or two smaller ones. Atlantic seemed to be pretty okay with a couple of the smaller ones coming in last year, so that wasn't an issue. We are going to look at the floor plan. With the new outlook and the new floor plan from last year, we kind of toyed with it a little bit, and some pieces worked, some pieces didn't, so we're just going to revisit the floor plan, see if we need to make additional changes. Nothing drastic. We're still going to have both types of exhibitors in AB Hall and both types of exhibitors in C Hall. But when you first walk in the convention center, that area will probably be revamped because it was a little bit congested. We had some feedback from the convention center that the vendor that we had there was a little bit too well visited, which is great for the vendor, but it wasn't good for the flow in and out of the convention center. So we have to look at that. The RFP is open. Like I said yesterday, we have 6 submissions already. We're going to keep to the same schedule as last year. And now, after hearing MIFRI and MIM's report yesterday, I'm going to work with Steve Cox on whether or not we're going to be offering the refresher that we normally do every year, but if that's going to be made to be online or, done at the stations, we may not be able to offer it at convention, but we'll talk about that. The program ad applications have been updated and sent to be uploaded to the website. And I've worked with Austin. I've sent him everything that needs to be relaunched onto the website. So everything that was closed for last year should be open by the end of the month. And then I will work with past President Mattingly to find out what's going on with the program book, who's going to take over that, if that's going to be, assigned to someone, or if someone wants to step up and work with that. Because as you know, Chuck took it over last year, so we need somebody to man that committee, I guess. And I think that's all I have for anything else.
Randy, anything from admin?
No, good morning, everybody. Just that appreciate all the hard work and dedicated hard work and assistance that all the staff and the members do to make sure the convention goes off without a hitch and its performance all the way through to the end. Thank you.
So I've got one more thing. We reached out to the Naval Academy Stadium for potential dates for the presidential galas. And for 2024 and 2025, we will be able to get the Saturday night before the Maryland Memorial again. So I've talked to the president and the first vice president. They were good with those dates. So we will go ahead and sign a contract with the facility and do those the night before the memorial service. So that reduces some of the time and conflict in Ocean City, but gives us a chance to do something closer to the center of the state. So any questions on anything related to the convention?
One question, Ron. You mentioned that the contract that was pending was 2-year. Our votes are generally for 5 years and contracts 5 years. Is that a change to a 2-year contract?
The convention centers is always done a 2-year business contract, even though we vote to go
so
out
the contract
that far.
itself has always been 2 years.
Right,
Okay.
but then what I would say is, when we went through the review several years ago to move out of Ocean City, the discussion was, if we were going to do that, it would have to go back to the body for that vote anyway, which would rescind the vote of the dates that are done at the beach for 5 years out.
So as
And
of
that
right
5
now,
years out is really more historical
right.
than reality because of the
Yeah.
contracts and the cost of the convention center.
Okay. So at this point in time, our vote is for the 5 years anyway, so there's no further action to say move forward with the contract, correct?
Correct, other than if we were going to bring that up for it would be too late to do it for 2024, but if we wanted to bring it up for 2025 to move the convention, then I would go back to the convention center and say, we're only going to do a 1-year contract, not 2.
I would say probably we're safe with the 2-year contract. I'll go to the presidents. Do you see any, particularly the upcoming presidents, do you see any potential issues with a 2-year contract at this point?
I don't. I think we're good to go. And I think in the conversations that I've had around the state, it's probably the best location to have it, because we want to maintain a kid-friendly environment. And again, sometimes some of our volunteers, they only get that 1 week of vacation, and we took a really good look at moving it around. And our first vice president, if he decides to run for president this year,
Starting already, shots fired.
You should have been here yesterday.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, he was running for the door.
Yeah. You know, they would vote me off the island. I wouldn't get across the bridge, so I'm good. So I think what you did, Ron, is great. So.
Good, then we'll move forward with the 2-year contract.
Very good.
Go.
Thank you. Anybody
Any
else?
other questions for the
Any
convention?
other questions for the convention committee? Okay, greatly appreciate everything you've done. Well, we'd like to move into finance. Any additional
Sure.
members you'd like to have come up?
The finance
so at
team
this
could
time.
join me, that would be great. And while they're coming up, I apologize for asking the schedule to be moved, but the foundation did a training program in Pittsburgh yesterday. So I was able to get a 6 a.m. flight this morning and get here in time for this, but I couldn't make it yesterday, so that's just the way the world goes.
Thank you, Ron. We appreciate your dedication.
We ready, guys? We're ready. All right. So you should have gotten an electronic report, and that should include the current balance sheet, profit and loss statement, and budget versus actual. Are there any questions on any of the numbers? Good. The 2023-2024 budget has been loaded into QuickBooks, and we are using that for the Budget Committee and for decisions relative to expenditures. The 2022-2023 financial review. The contract was signed, the scope of work with Fike Connor and Associates in Lavelle, and I have the box of all the paperwork to go with you, if you could take that up and drop that off. And they'll probably give you last year's, and we'll hook back up. We did a little adjustment to the income and expense categories, a little realignment based on an internal and external review of the accounts and codes. Really isn't a major change, other than a couple of categories needed to be expanded and some were duplicates, so we reduced them. But generally, the classification codes we use, the 4-digit numbers, are fairly pretty much the same. And those are all on your reports that you got based on our expenditures. All the checking accounts have been reconciled as of October 31st, 2023, and the MLGIP accounts as of October 31st, 2023. The reason that we haven't done November, some of you are aware that we had a change in the credit card service that we were using. Those of you that have an MSFA credit card, we had to issue new cards to increase our credit limit on our business account. And the difficulty is some of the older cards were still being used while the newer cards were being issued. So it created a little bit of an accounting dilemma to track the charges that were on the old cards with that number and the new cards with the new number. But we should have that finalized in another week or so. We've got everyone that has a credit card has received a new one. We're waiting for the credit card policy statements to be signed and sent to the executive director's office. There is a specific policy that lays out what you can and can't use that credit card for. So we're finishing that transition. Once that's done, we'll then be able to do the November reconciliations and then have that ready for the next meeting. Questions on the credit cards?
Ron, go ahead.
Because what was happening is with especially the convention costs, we've been doing more on credit cards than checks. It makes it easier to track it. And our limit was only $50,000 for our corporation. So we wanted to go to $75,000 as a credit limit increase. And to do that, we had to go to a different business card classification. The way PNC does it is the the limits are certain accounts on certain style credit card policies. So we moved up one set to the next one up to have that 75,000 credit limit for the cards.
And we did some residential vehicle stuff on it.
That's correct. And what we're trying to do is, I mean, the credit cards for us, we're not paying the credit card fees, so it makes it easier for people that have expenditures to use the card than to wait for, or lay it out of their pocket, wait for reimbursement, and then I get them a check, or we get them a check in advance. So it makes it easier to track. It gives more work for Bobby in tracking down Bobby Aaron and tracking down all the receipts. But it's I think, a more efficient way for us to do business, and allows the person making the purchase to get it paid for through MSFA funds and not have to seek a reimbursement, if that helps.
And then I don't see any report. Do they spend electronically?
Yes.
I have nothing in the inbox. Does anyone else have? Am I looking? We don't have anything in front of us. What's that?
Did you see the reports? I hear you. They were sent. I got it. Yeah, they were sent.
Yeah, you sent it, because I sent it out to the budget committee.
Yeah, a week ago. When I get online, I'll resend them to everybody, and then if there's questions, I'll be here all day. Okay, sorry for that. All right, so now we're in the process of dealing with taxes. W-2Gs have been distributed to all the winners for the MSFA raffle, and the amount of tax liability, which is the percentage of taxable income from that, has been paid to the IRS, and then we will then deal with filing all of that with the Internal Revenue with our tax return. We're getting ready to work on the 1099Rs, which is a 1099 retirement for the Widows and Orphans Fund, the 1099Ms, which is for Bessie Marshall Fund, and the 1099 NECs, which is for the contract staff. So all of those documents need to be filed by the end of January 2024. And so we'll finish all that up and get them mailed out, and then we'll do a master filing with the IRS with copies of all of those payment forms. And then that gets reconciled with the year-end financial review done by Fight Connor Associates, so that the payments out and the taxable potential is balanced through the accounting firm. Questions? All right, SAFER grant. We have been working to get our fourth reimbursement from SAFER. We just received $154,328.94, and we have the fourth reimbursement in the hopper for $155,540.66. And FEMA has changed the process for that. So for each SAFER payment, they want a copy of the canceled check, they want a copy of the invoice. If it involves a contractor, they want a copy of the performance report. So it took Lynn a day to copy all that. It was like 470 sheets of paper. And yes, they want it in paper. I don't know what happened to the Paper Reduction Act in Washington, but we ship it down in a FedEx box, and then they re-enter it into their system to coincide with our reconciliations. So that's been progressing fairly well. What we do need to do, though, is we're at the midterm, and I've asked Kate to schedule a meeting with MSFA and the Maryland Fire Chiefs to look at how much money is still left, where we might have overspent or where we're underspent, and figure out where we're going to be over the next 2 years with that grant funding. So we need to do a budget alignment with that. Let's see here. Okay, the last thing I have is an action item, and I did talk to the budget chair about it We have not done a cost of living increase for our executive director and our staff person. And in talking with Steve, he recommended that we follow what the state did, if I'm not mistaken, Steve? I think that's what you said, 5%?
5%,
6%. Yeah. And so what we'd like to do is get permission to do that. There's been no increase to them since we hired them.
And the Budget Committee, we do have the funds to, okay. To entertain a motion, Bill, seconded by Randy. All in favor to support the increase in the cost of living increase for the contract employees of MSFA, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you. And that is the last of the finance report.
Everything else okay? Mitch, go ahead.
Yes, okay, for the Financial Secretary's office, of course, the dues will be mailed out. I'm going to put them in the mail on December the 30th. Again, hopefully that will alleviate the problems of getting double checks, which isn't a bad thing, but I got to send them back. That's the bad part. But what was happening was new officers would take over January the 1st, and if I send them out like December 20th, I had a lot of companies that would pay between that and January 1st. Then the new regime would come in and reissue the checks. That was the issue. So the dues will be out. I have them bagged. They're ready to go to the post office. I've had them 2 weeks now. My assistant, Bobby Aaron, reports that the inventory is up to date. And I would ask on her behalf if you can get her the credit card receipts on a monthly basis, because she gets the statement from the bank and on a monthly basis, and she needs to reconcile the receipts with the statement. So when they get held up longer than a month, and she's got to hold that statement per se open, and then it takes 2 months, sometimes they're 3 months coming in, and she's backing up on paperwork. So if we could try to get the credit card receipts into her on a monthly basis, that would be great. That's all I have for the Financial Secretary.
Any questions for the Financial Secretary?
Just out of curiosity, what's it cost to mail out the duty notices compared to if we were to email them?
66 cents, whatever the current rate is, per. But I'm figuring that up. We mail about 300 out. We have 4 counties that pay. Their association pays for everybody, and then those companies reimburse their county association. So that's one invoice, and they're large counties. So that takes a lot. I think I only mail just about 300 invoices out. The trouble is we're changing emails, and we never know where it's going to go and who's going to get it by an email. Not saying the mail's any better, but at least when they see it, they kind of know whose box to put it in. But when it goes to email, they change, where at least the address doesn't most of the time.
Thank you, Mitch. Budget.
Budget Committee did not receive any requests other than the communication, the treasurer and I, on the increase. We did, just for notification, since you authorized the Budget Committee to move funds within the bottom line, and in concert with the Presidential Vehicle Committee, we are not purchasing a vehicle this year. So there was $55,000 in that account. So the AEDs and the first aid kits, even though the president thought it came out of the president's funds, it came out of the presidential vehicle funds. So that's reported to the Budget Committee.
Any further questions for the financial team? Very good. Thank you all very much. Is there a report from the VCAF?
I received a message from Joe yesterday. We didn't have any applications, so we haven't had a meeting. The new application period opens up first of the year, and it'll be open. We won't have anything for the February meeting, but we'll have it open for applications that, if we get any, we'll bring back for the April meeting.
Any questions for Gene with VCAF?
I haven't seen a recent financial, so I'm really not sure.
Okay. Very good. Finance team, thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Mitch?
Ways and Means.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the committee's been busy selling the tickets since the August Executive Committee meeting. We went to Sunfest, didn't do as well as we normally do. We did $4,684 at Sunfest. We did have decent weather. I think it was threat of rain maybe one day. It cut the crowd down some. The Darlington Apple Festival, which we counted on for about $1,500 to $2,000 up in Harford County, they've decided to not have it anymore due to liability issues and help. They, as the volunteers, we know it. They just couldn't get people to do it, and then they were having issues with liability insurance going through the roof. So they decided to cancel their event, and that was like one day, about $2,000 for us, and they would have 70, 80,000 people on a good weather day on a little main street in a small town. So far this year, for the raffle year, we've got $7,020 in the bank. I have probably close to $2,000 I'll be putting in tomorrow. I've received in the mail this week, plus what we got here turned in. So we're about $550 behind last year, which isn't bad. That's okay. We're there. And I did give the tickets to the executive committee personnel, and I know you've all handed them out. Although I have received several companies call me and say they have not gotten them yet, so I don't know if everyone's got them out to their companies in your jurisdictions. But I have gotten a couple calls they haven't got them, and I did tell them to reach out to you and see if you still have them, or maybe somebody has them in the company and they don't know it. That could be an issue too. Let's see, I think that's about it. You can mail your check and tickets to me. You can bring them to an executive committee meeting through you, or just bring them to the convention like we used to do. Since we're back and up and running again, we'll take them to the convention. And I think that's all I got. Jeff, I know my co-chair Jeff's here. Jeff, do you have anything?
No, sir.
I do want to shout out for Sunfest and for the people that were down there. On Friday and Saturday, I had Sam and Sherry Sowers. On Thursday, I had Bobby and Jean Aaron. Susan Drennan, who's an administrative aide from Odenton, was there the entire weekend, the whole time. And then Darlene and myself were there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's all we had. That's another reason we were down, because we could have opened up more. We need more people down there to help. I mean, I know Steve's getting ready to talk, and we need people. That's the problem. We cannot actually leave there. We were crowded, but we just didn't have enough people to man it. We have 3 sides of the tent open and 2 or 3 people working it. That's our problem.
With the incentive that we put in place, has that helped at all?
We picked Susan up. When I put that email out asking for help, without the incentive, she jumped on it and said, I'd like to come down and help. But I'd put an email blast out to the association website. And Kate had put it in the notice to say anybody wanted to help, contact me. She was the only one.
And the only other remark I'll make is the same remark I make every Thursday morning at convention when we present the budget, that if we would all get behind Ways and Means and all of us get out and encourage people to sell the tickets, we're not even getting in 1/3 the amount of income that we should be getting off that raffle. And that would certainly help the organization and certainly help the budget committee.
Less than 50% of the companies, and only about 50%.
Yeah, it's
sell.
about 44% of the companies statewide turn $1 back in. $1. If you turn $1 in, you're credited for at least buying something. But 45% turn 0 in.
It makes a big difference. Yep. Very good, Mitch. Thank you for the hard work.
Thanks.
And Steve, we're right. If we did more, if just the companies purchased the tickets, that would be a tremendous help. Okay, anything else for the financial team or any of their members? Thank you. I see the fire marshal has arrived. Brian, would you like to do your report, sir?
First, thanks for letting me change my day. I
attended a funeral yesterday for retired captain for Baltimore County, Chris Goss. It was the fire investigation commander for many years there, and he and I would commiserate on a weekly basis when I was the commander over Montgomery County in charge of fire investigation. So we got to be pretty close. So if you keep his family in your prayers, I'd appreciate it. I apologize about the report not being able to go in electronically. Too many pictures this time, so maybe the next fire marshal will cut down on that, so who knows. Unfortunately, right now, as it stands, we're at confirmed 68 fire deaths across the state, and we have 13 deaths pending with the medical examiner. So the numbers are not going to look good this year at all. We've kind of been, I guess we've gotten caught up with the rest of the nation. The fire deaths are going up, as you all know, and obviously we're not being spared that at all. So we did suffer a second fatality in the state by using illegal consumer fireworks. The event occurred down in southern Maryland, and again, it was the use of a mortar tube, which was held up against the victim's chest and discharged. So that's the first for us, having 2 deaths as a result of fireworks in the state. Don't know of any in the past, or so. Just again another thing of what's going on. So third quarter numbers look pretty good. We had 199 investigations, 133 of those were in fire investigations, 48 explosive events, and 18 other investigations. 10 criminal cases were closed by arrests, 13 individuals being charged, and a little over 2,900 inspections and 905 plans were reviewed. Community Risk Reduction Weekend, again, was great for us. We went out again. Our offices partnered with the local fire departments, as you can see in the photographs. We went out in the communities both on the 21st and 22nd of October, and we provided and installed over 197 smoke alarms within those regions. So good jobs by my folks. They've embraced that, and hopefully that will continue on as the years go on. So.
We've already said the dates. We've already said the dates.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Delmarva Power, again, a great partnership for us, not only for the office, but for the state of Maryland. And obviously PEPCO as well up in for Montgomery and Prince George's, providing us 1,900 smoke alarms this year for those departments across the Eastern Shore. So we had that dedication and ceremony on the 25th of October down in Salisbury. So that partnership will be long-standing and stay around for quite some time. So the Honor Guard is continuing to move forward within the Office of the State Fire Marshal. They participated in a week-long training event up in Delaware with the Delaware State Police. There's a picture there in the report. You guys look pretty sharp in your uniforms. So we're pleased that we finally got that up and running and started. Detection K-9 Kachina retired after serving the state for over 8 years. During her time with Deputy State Fire Marshal Alkire, performed over 600 K-9 scans and provided expert testimony in numerous cases resulting in convictions. So we wish her well in her retirement. And as you can see on the next page, her replacement is Blondie. Blondie came to the agency and went to Deputy Alkire, and she graduated from K-9 school down in Front Royal. So this Friday, we are holding a sign dedication for Deputy Chief Sandra Cohen, who was killed in the line of duty on December the 8th of 2017. The sign is located on southbound 270 at Wooten Parkway, which was the location where he was struck. So we'll be doing that on Friday with his parents and the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, and dedicating that sign to Sander. We participated with the Phoenix Society World Bird Congress at a 4-day event that occurred down National Harbor. We supported that event with an information table and a welcome from me and 600 attendees from across the world. It was a great event. It was great for us to be involved. They were extremely happy. We were also able to get them some funding for the event, And so the event went very well, and it was very enlightening to just to sit there and hear the stories of the burn survivors. It just tells you why we do what we do and what we need to do more in. So, and obviously we assisted our partners up in Baltimore City and ATF with the fire investigation that took the lives of the 2 Baltimore City firefighters. The cause of the fire is still undetermined at this time. So, just want to thank everybody. It's been a good ride. And I appreciate the partnership we've had with the MSFA. You guys have been tremendous. Couldn't have asked for a better partnership and relationship, and obviously the friendships that we've developed over these last 10 years. I would look back and say that our biggest accomplishment was the residential sprinklers and keeping that in place. We all came together, we fought hard on that, and we won. So that is something that everybody here should be very, very, very proud of. My man over here leading the way down in Annapolis on that, and 2 of our friends that are no longer with us. But we overcame that. So it's big, and y'all should be very proud of that, because we're protecting a lot of lives with those and the lives of our firefighters. So thanks for the car back in the day. That helped out tremendously. Appreciate that, and just everything you guys do, and I just wish you all the best in your future endeavors as you move forward. You know, I'm moving out of state. I'm going to Florida. Purchased a house in Fort Myers. So Kelly and I will be heading south at the end of the month. So, so thanks for everything.
Brian, the work that you have done here in the state of Maryland is certainly unprecedented. And I know the men and women here appreciate everything that you've done for this organization. So on behalf of us, Brian Geraci has served with distinction as the Maryland State Fire Marshal. Under his tenure, the Maryland State Firemen's Association and Office of the State Fire Marshal has enjoyed a strong partnership. State Fire Marshal Geraci has served in the fire service for more than 40 years, including several years as a battalion chief of the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service. As a member of the State Fire Prevention Commission and the Office of State Fire Marshal, State Fire Marshal Geraci has earned numerous state and national awards, including MSFA Hall of Fame, the Silver Spring Award, and the Olin Green Outstanding Fire Prevention Service Award, presented by the National Association of State Fire Marshals. Now, therefore, this day, 3rd day of December, the Maryland State Firemen's Association formally extends its thanks, gratitude, and best wishes for a happy retirement as a State Fire Marshal. So, Brian, thank you for everything that you've done for us.
Thank you very much.
Hey, can I get a picture?
Yeah.
Kate wants one too.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Fire Marshal,
Yes, sir.
on behalf of myself, Bobby, and Dan Stevens, that represent the Southern Maryland Volunteer Firemen's Association, we appreciate all the work and the dedication and the forward thinking of yourself under your leadership and your staff, keeping us safe down there. So it's a little bit.
I appreciate that.
The expiration date was yesterday.
All right.
You showed up today, we'll move it.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you're up.
Okay.
And Brian, before they come up, I want to say personally, I've been involved with the Fire Marshal's Office since the Robbie days, and we've been so fortunate, from Robbie to Rocky to Bill and you coming on board. We have enjoyed such a great relationship with the State Fire Marshal's Office, and you've continued that leadership and that partnership from day one when you came on board. And I'm sure I speak for everybody, both on the executive committee and our membership. that has just been a tremendous asset for us as an association, for the Fire Service of Maryland, and the citizens of Maryland. So I thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay, Teresa?
Hello, sir. I'm going to start off by saying that our display this year is about holiday fire safety, gnoming your way. I saw something in Walmart, a 3-foot blow-up gnome, and I was like, that's my idea. So that's the stuff we have here. I definitely want to include, the NFPA came out with some really good tips this year for us for Christmas tree safety, and I gave this to Kate, and we uploaded it to the website and to the Facebook page, well, to the page itself, social media. And it's a hang tag that I asked if you were selling trees at your station to please include this with this. This is the size that it comes out, so it's not very intrusive. But it has a hole punch area so that you can tag it onto the tree, and it gives a good amount of information. And then what I also am going to do is make a hang tag for our tip sheet for how much a tree takes on water. We think it's really important to remind everybody, especially the different situations that we've seen across this country with live Christmas trees. And not many people know that when they start harvesting trees, it's back in September. Or late August, September, and they're sitting there for a long period of time before they're sold. And especially like the fresh cut trees, you know, you're going to a farm and you're picking your tree for your family. That's a different situation, but it still takes about a gallon of water a day for fresh cut trees. And then I learned something because they had a safety message with NFPA. The gentleman said, who's a tree harvester, he says once you cut the tree and you've put it up there for a while, you can actually run your hand along the branches, and if the branches come off, that means it's taken too much water and it's not going to accept any more water, and that's a time in the frame line saying you should not have the tree up. So ultimately, that's a big thing. And I do know that tree sales are down. The trees are not available. A lot of people are complaining that they're not able to get fresh cut trees. And then what's made social media very influential on artificial trees, some of these trees, you see them on social media, they became very popular. And there's one tree where you just put it in, you plug it in, and it immediately just goes up to a 10-foot tree. And then it folds back down on itself. So it's become very popular. And where they actually are sold out, and especially the Lowe's and Home Depot, they can't keep those trees in stock. So that's our message on here. The biggest thing that we have coming up for our training is we've given the save the date. It's been put in the trumpet. Thank you, Jonathan. But that is going to be March 23rd at MIFRI. Our biggest thing is that's a great building tool. We're looking at redoing this one to bring you the support and needs to actually building your own fire prevention. That's why we say building your toolbox. Cindy will talk about a little bit more. We've got a great speaker, and she can tell you about her. And then from FABSCOM, I talked to Jimmy the other day, Jim Resnick, and they were actively out installing visual smoke alarms, the bed shaker from OmniShield in a family. I think they had 4 deaf, so each room will get a bed shaker, and then they gave them the 2 smoke alarms, and then they had gas, so they got a CO alarm. So that family's been taken care of. So we have that on our website. From the national side, KIDA has created a new program called Cause the Alarm. I've shared that a couple of times. That's a whole new program that's broken down into educators, family, and first responders. Please go to the website for more information. Sparky.org, the NFPA.org, and NFPA Public Education have all created updates. We've put pushing that out. Our Steps to Safety, working with Andrea, her father's, and has some issues, so we've been trying to work around her schedule, and we'll work with MIFRI to try to find some dates to offer the Steps to Safety program. It used to be what they call it? Oh my God, brain cramp. All right, I'm having brain cramp. But they revitalized this program, and it's now a 4-hour program instead of 2 weeks of learning. They've been able to take a lot of the stuff out, do some pre-stuff, and then move it forward. So we'll be pushing that out once we find out. The other thing that they have is it's broken down into 6 areas. Staying safe at home, a group presentation. It's where you can take that actual presentation to anywhere and you can present it there. They give you some trivia information. It's actually a pretty fun game that you can go and showcase with. And then how to create a prop box, what you would need to take with you to an event so that you can help people understand that the information. And then they actually include Canada in this and gave them some information to be a part of it. And they also have a pre and post test, which I think is really important. And it creates like an icebreaker for your time for an event there. Also, NFPA is pushing, because we all have an issue, we all need to address it, but the FireWise USA, residents reducing wildfire risk, even though we're in an area that you might not consider a wildfire, but if you listen to the radios, we all have a possibility of a brush fire. We just call it something different. Magnitudes might not be as big as what you see out west, but in effort, you have to think about what happened in Canada this summer, the effects that caused from the Canadian fires and that came down here because our weather was very taxed at that time. We had a lot of people that were going to the hospital because they were having trouble breathing because of the smoke. So we have to do all of our efforts to ensure. And because of this, we talked to Chris Robertson, and he's bringing a speaker to us at the Public and Life Safety Educator seminar just about mitigation and making sure that your home is properly maintained, taking up the leaves, getting rid of the brush, and making your home as safe as possible. What's scary is even though we have a no brush fire ban or whatever we do during the summer, we still have people that are burning brush. We have a fire fatality from a heart attack that was a brush fire. Well, he was burning brush. So it's just things like that we need to help address. And it's something that we all need to learn. It's something that I think is very important for us, and having Chris there, it would be a great thing. And then the other things that we have is Vision 2020, strategicfire.org. They released in full the Johns Hopkins report. I shared it before, but it is now fully available for everyone to look at. They've added all the key elements that they released back in March. But ultimately, there's 4 specific areas that they addressed: infrastructure and personnel, assessment of community risk, response to community risk, and the impact of COVID-19 that they're still seeing. So please go online and share that with everyone. And again, our Community Risk Reduction Week, ultimately as a grassroots effort from crrweek.org, is January 14th to the 21st, 2024. And this year it's going to be enforcement is the program focus. And then I was on a conference call with the Red Cross, and they have reintroduced again. They just got another Fire Act grant for $750,000, but they're adding some more stuff to sound the alarm, save a life. I was very candid with the lady from the Red Cross and saying that in the past, when we've asked to get support from the Red Cross from the other parts of the state of Maryland, those stations were denied. I said, so you're telling me that you're going to be fully embracing this? So there's a sergeant out of Baltimore County that I'm working with, Jennifer Martucci, and she is helping with this aspect because she reached out to them, and it was like a snowball effect. So we already know that they're working in the Montgomery County, Prince George's, and the DC region, and then the Virginia side. But the rest of the state, a lot of the departments were denied the access to these alarms. And gave her a little back history, and she was like new to this position. So she was very fortunate to hear that, because when Jennifer started in Baltimore County, she tried to get smoke alarms from them a while ago, and she was fruitless in that effort. But now that they want to embrace the fire service in effect, I think they got called out on the carpet a little bit, and now they're fully embracing all of us.
Teresa,
So-
I think it must be because of whatever the local is, because we've had just the opposite in Frederick. We went door to door with them, and
Yep.
then they went out to Emmitsburg with Wayne. They went into Brunswick. So I think it has to do with the local relationship. I think is where the real problem lies.
Yep, and that's we saw that, and because I told her, I said, why are you telling me I can have all these fire departments call you? I have 300 and some odd companies, we have 900 and some odd stations. We have the people that will help you. And because that opened the door, so hopefully we'll be able to move this forward. So we're looking forward to the next steps, what they're going to do. Every first Monday of the month, Red Cross is part of a national message campaign that we're sitting on. So they've addressed this also with other locations. So hopefully it's a better fit, because ultimately they have a mitigation aspect that they feel for making sure that everybody's prepared. But it used to be like a 45-minute inspection to the house. It took a long time, but we don't really, sometimes our departments don't have that 45 minutes. Let us go install the smoke alarms, and then you can do your mitigation part, because you're doing something totally different. You're adding the concept of the smoke alarm there too. And I asked if, like, when we get in, can we just do this a couple of days ahead of you all or after or whatever? So they're looking at that too, because it's all about scheduling. And then from Jennifer Williams, she gave us an National Fire, oh shit, I can't see. FSRI, they just released Charge, it's CHARGE of battery safety. I've got the stuff in the back. If you were able to be a part of the Cyber Monday, kits are starting to release now. But of this, they took a global approach, because we all know that the battery issue in New York City is like one of the main things. I told the fire marshal the other day, they have over 65,000 registered e-bikes in the city. So now, because of community risk reduction efforts, the housing authority is involved, and they have now mandated that no e-bike is allowed to be charged in an apartment, condo, or any type of housing in New York City. And that's a big fight right now, because talking to Chief Cannerman from New York, he was telling me that, there's a guy in New York City that he actually has like a warehouse that he got, and he has the actual thing that you need to do is charging the e-bikes. Because to them, courier service is so popular still, and we see it downtown in DC also. The magnitude is not as bad, I think, in the city, or that we don't really know, who knows. But for them, they've taken all these different steps. They've outlawed it. They've made sure that you're not charging it in the hallways. You name it, it's not obstructing a view or the egress out of the building. So you go through this whole steps. Well, they had another fire last weekend, and they didn't have any, they were very lucky. I can tell you they were very lucky that no one passed from this fire, because they had very close calls to it. But the problem is, people are not getting it. So showed the fire marshal picture one day where this guy ran a power cord from his apartment, strung it along, and then built like this little tent city. And he had like a cubicle system like you would get from like IKEA with the little 12 slots or whatever. Had a couple of those built up and had all these different things in there. And I asked Cannerman, I said, what's that? He goes, oh, that's $50 a box, and you charge your battery in there. And then I was like, is there shoes in there? He goes, oh yeah, you dump your stuff and then you leave. So it's collateral, because they were like people leaving their stuff so they could get their stuff charged. So, but the thing is, they had to shut that guy down is because he had it on the sidewalk. I was like, okay, well, it's creative. We get that. People making bucks, that's all. But New York City has a huge problem, and they're trying to tackle it. And through FSRI, they were able to create this program. They put about $1 million into this physical setup. And we have this stuff back there. It's in the report. But each of the letters means something. I thought I had it in here, but it's here somewhere. It is what it is. But yeah, it's all online. But it's the most important is everybody's got to take action to ensure that this is stopping. And the other thing that the housing authority told them was if they if they have a device, they can only use the battery that comes with that device or substantially purchase a secondary battery from the same company. So they cannot bring in a cheaper option. And they have to prove to the housing authority that they have that. So I don't know who the battery police are going to be up there, but it's somebody's job. Yeah.
There's other countries that have pushed this battery thing. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of articles. How have they dealt with this? Are they having the same magnitude, or is just over here they're a little bit more creative in how they're doing?
So let me tell you what Tokyo's doing. Tokyo has a unique setup. So you know when you go to a store and just like, let's use the Amazon boxes, and you put your key in or code in and the door opens and your product is there? Well, they're doing the same thing with batteries. You type in your battery need, you take your two devices that you would use for your car, your electric vehicle, like it's just mainly EVs, the bikes, and then the scooters and stuff. And a door pops open and the fresh batteries come out and you put the other two in, so it's always knowing, and there's like charging places. And that's what they're looking at. And they've told them that's the only thing you're allowed to do. They make the batteries. We don't make batteries.
But are they having the same magnitude of fires in their country, in the other countries that we're having? What are we doing wrong? I mean,
Most countries are much more strict in their regulations, and it's criminal. I mean, a lot of these companies we're so laxed. We reward people with their insurance money. Other countries go to jail.
Well, I agree,
Yeah.
but they've been using these things a lot longer than we have, the vehicles and everything else. And I mean, are they doing something when they're on fire that we're not picking up, or are they doing something different? That's apparently something different as far as charging goes. But why are we? I mean, New York has killed what, 24 people already this year? I mean, it just amazes me that you're not seeing a lot of data or a lot of articles about what other countries, and they've been doing this a lot longer than we have. And I think our problem is just going to get worse and worse and worse.
I think it goes back to, again, the education piece and, again, getting information out there, because what we're seeing is obviously what Teresa just said. People are buying different batteries, they're buying different chargers, they're going a cheaper route, and that's what's causing a fire. Or they're allowing these vehicles and whatever to stay on charge even after they're done. That's another thing that they're doing. They're allowing them to overcharge. So it's just a matter of getting the information out there. I mean, I think we've been fortunate so far. We haven't had that many, but it's something that we need to address, and and I'll tell you what, Annapolis is looking at it. I mean, they've already written out to me a couple times on the EV stuff and all these the battery issues and the energy storage systems and everything. Obviously, there's an NFPA code that's out there that addresses it. So obviously, we're using that, but we can do the same thing New York's doing, is preventing people from keeping them in buildings, whatever. But again, that gets to be, as well as a compliance issue, and who's going to be out there knocking on doors? Yeah, who's the battery police? And so that gets to be an issue as itself. So it's just a matter of really educating the people and really educating the apartment owners and management and those types of things. And obviously, if we can get sprinklers in the existing high-rise residential buildings that we've been fighting on now since 2018, we'll make things better. But I think it's just a matter of getting out there and getting the message out there, because you're right. It's not going to get it's going to get a bit worse before it gets better. So
Just to add on a little more what he was saying, the governor is pushing these vehicles in Maryland by 2030. Supposedly the state is buying a bulk of buses that are going to be all electric. And again, I'm like you, are they realizing what's going on around us? And the technology just isn't there yet. And again, hopefully Annapolis will listen to the authority having jurisdiction and put some of this stuff on hold they're trying to do. But again, it's only going to get worse as our leadership says you have to have electric, and we're not, you can't buy a gas car after a certain time in Maryland. That's just going to, again, create more hazard and more people doing shortcuts because of the cost of buying an original battery. They can go to Amazon and get it for a lot cheaper, or they can go to Walmart and get it a lot cheaper type deal. And then you have the creativity of the entrepreneurs out there that will take and run an extension cord from the house and outside to charge the car, and the extension cord's rated for inside use. So it's ridiculous.
MDOT has like 200 buses that they have on order, so that's what I'm being told. So, and they're trying to figure out that that infrastructure. So while we're sitting here on batteries, you know, I'm trying to spool up a battery committee. I'm still looking for someone that would take the lead and take that, because those questions that you were all answering or trying to ask, those questions got brought up last year in Annapolis, and they were all over the map about how to put them out, how to extinguish them, what to do with them, what happens with a runaway. I mean, we're seeing the training for our operational folks across the state in various places, and that's great. But I think if we want to assist with legislation and how we want to do things to get it right, we need to work within our body to help guide that process. And I'm sure the Fire Marshal's office will help us facilitate that. But I'm looking for some folks to help kick that can down the road, so that we don't have the issues that we have in New York and some of the other places. So if someone's interested, send me an email, give me a phone call. I want to get this work group up and running.
I know the creativity's out there, because Delegate Lehman a couple of years ago showed me a picture, and a gentleman in Laurel, because she was trying to get apartment buildings to add EV electric, the charging places, charging stations in the apartment complexes. This guy from his, and this is the bad part, he must have like 6 extension cords. He had 3 internal, and he had 2 external and 1 super heavy duty one. I'm like, but he had a carpet cover in it, so that it would be a trip hazard. So, and that was from his apartment to his parking spot. And that's the dangerous part, because I know the creativity's out there, and that's the scary aspect.
If we don't guide the process and be part of the solution, it's coming.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be on the front end of that before we have more deaths or injuries related to that, particularly when it comes to our own men and women responding out here on a call.
Yep.
So I'm looking for help.
Eric, reach out to Chief Fire Protection Engineer Bush. I think he's your man.
Okay.
We do have on the blog spot, we have our mapping of where all the incidents are so far. We just had an update, and Joe learned something, was able to fix something, so we just updated that again. So we know that's working now, and it gives us, when somebody sends something, it immediately tells myself or Joe when something's imported for a fire, so that's a good thing. Joe Walters, I'm sorry, it's Joe Walters. Put that in the record, Joe Walters. And then again, the Fire Academy, they're pushing the academy classes out. They have now gone from a 2 times a year submittal to quarterly, so you'll be able to get into more classes, and Bruce wanted everybody to know that. Again, a lot of their information is in dual languages. Please, if you need something, it's there, especially Safe Kids. Safe Kids has 23 languages broken down for their tip sheets, so if you need something in a specific language, it's in all the major areas of fire prevention, and the NFPA will be working with the Safe Kids to update all that information too. And then the 2 classes that are coming up that are online and you don't need to go to the academy to take is Introduction to Community Risk Assessments and Introduction to Strategic Community Risk Reduction, and they're all online. That starts you the process. And again, for our next couple of weeks for our meetings, on Monday, January 22nd, our go-to meeting, we're going to do a joint meeting at nighttime with LAMSFA. And then our weekends that we have set up for 2024 are May 18th and 19th and October 19th and 20th. We know how valuable this tool is, and even though the fire marshal is leaving, and I've already boycotted his departure, and I'll probably be fired for the 8th time. I'm only in it for the Disney perks, as I told his wife. this is a valuable tool, and we ask everybody to get out there. I do know that Pepco gave Prince George's County 200 CO alarms this time instead of smoke. They asked for CO alarms, so that's a big push. And we're working on a grant for CO through the state, so all the regions will get CO alarms and an active marketing tool. We're working with MSP and the grants lady there, and Joe Walters and I have gone back and forth with her with questions, and we're looking at a $200,000 grant. We do not have to match the money because it is our hours and in-kind ability to do so. So we were able to get away from having to give any money towards that. So that's what we're doing, working on. And then again, the 23rd is the Fire and Life Safety Educator Seminar. Please push that out. And then at the end, we just get the people there, because this is a good opportunity for everybody to learn. And there's 100 people that can sit in that room, and if I can violate the fire code in a sense and move it to a different room, I'd love to, because everybody in the state needs to come to these trainings, because it's free. It gives you the valuable information to be able to help protect your communities, and our ultimate number one goal is to ensure the safety of the citizens, and the second is mainly, more than anything, keeping somebody off a Memorial Wall in Annapolis or in Emmitsburg. So that's our goal and mission. So at that time, I'll turn it over to Cindy. I'll talk too much.
Any questions for Teresa? Teresa, thank you so very much. Great. Okay, Cynthia.
Great. Good morning. I will try to be brief. I want to highlight a couple quick things. My report was submitted electronically. We have completed most of the trainings that are going to be done for 2023 calendar year. And I spoke with the folks both at Highway Safety as well as our partners at the Department of Health. So our bike safety and car safety work that we do with Risk Watch and Safe Kids will start to come up again in March. Obviously, we'll continue to provide families with resources, but the actual classes won't start again until we can count on the weather. Teresa's already mentioned the public Fire Life Safety Conference. We are bringing in a speaker from North Carolina who specializes in getting fire safety messages to middle and high school students. She is an active volunteer. She is active in the school systems, and she has agreed to come up. We are looking to confirm a few more speakers and are hoping to have, like we did last year with outdoor electric vehicles, we're hoping to have both an indoor and outdoor scavenger hunt focused on being ready and preparedness. We will have an indoor plan in case of weather, and count on that. I really want to recognize, and I forgot to tell Mike Cox this yesterday, Tim Delahaney is retiring from MIFRE after many, many years. I don't know if he's come back for a week before he burns the rest of his leave or not.
I think he goes in March.
He goes in March. Oh, he told me December. Okay. All right. Well, then I will have time. But will he go the 1st of March or the 30th of March? And I'm voting on the 30th if I have any influence. Okay. I'll let you know. Okay. He has been the backbone of being there early on Friday, allowing us to set up, making sure all the AV works, being on site and troubleshooting. And Scott Wood has also been a key person to make sure that we have access to the advertising, the academics, the registration, the feedback. And Joe Walters has been doing the online electric evaluations and the certificates. So this is really a multi-agency team, but with Tim retiring, we want to do something to recognize him, and he swore he would not come on the 23rd of March because he will be retired by then. So I might be asking Southern Maryland for a little help to get him there so we can recognize him. So, but it's been a tremendous partnership, and we will miss Tim, but we will be very happy for him to be in retirement and enjoy more time with his family. From a Safe Kids standpoint, there are all kinds of ongoing projects. We have partnered with Dr. Mary Beth Howard, who is a pediatric emergency physician at Hopkins, to really look into not only teaching about safe sleep, but also putting together a training program for first responders when they enter a home and there is a child under 1 who is the reason the 911 was called, can we do sort of a 360 safety check, whether it's for respiratory or whether it's for a child that's they have found unresponsive. We would like to prevent these. She is currently on maternity leave, having given birth last week. She'll be back in about 6 weeks, and we will continue to develop that. So in 2024, we want to add to our Safe Sleep Prevention Program another component, which is not only educating families, but when we come to a home and there's a child under the age of 1, is there a crib? Is the crib empty? What else is going on in the sleeping environment for that child? The rest, I think, is pretty much written out well. I do have a question that came up about 6 minutes ago, and I'm not sure what to do with it. We have called our activity at the convention Steps to Safety for 10 or 15 years. And now NFPA has moved their senior adult fire and fall prevention, calling it Steps to Safety, and they've stuck a trademark on it. So I don't know what we're going to do with that. I see NFPA's little trademark there. I'll call out to some folks. We will still be doing Steps to Safety. You may see us add another word to it if they truly have trademarked that with the federal government. But sign up is ready for 2024. I brought them with me. We will post this online. We will again have the need to have volunteers to come for 2 or 3 hours. And Holly Trego, who is working night shift at MIMS this weekend and not here, is helping us rewrite our entire Make the Right Call and 911 training, making it more digital. But we also need to move away from Make the Right Call as our phrase for when to dial 911. And we're going to rework that, because now if you look across the fire and law enforcement community and you see Make the Right Call, it's directing people to 988. And so Make the Right Call in the 80s was an initiative of the U.S. Fire Administration and NHTSA to dial 911 in the case of an emergency. Now that same phrase is being used, and we do not want to get in the way of making sure that when someone needs help, they make the right call to 988 and ask for help, and Dave Lewis is the expert on that. So we will find a new phrase. Hopefully not Steps to Safety, I'd like to keep that one, but we'll find a new phrase on making when to call 911 and make it a little bit, and Holly's working with me on that. The only other comment I wanted to make, and then I'm happy to answer questions, is a shout out to both of our fire ambassadors. I looked at their reports. I didn't read them in detail at the August meeting. I read them in detail at this meeting. And if you read their reports, this is a blueprint of how to do the job well. It is the specifics on community education, a lot of the activities they're asked to participate in, but where they are giving what messages to what audiences. And I think this is a curriculum. Did that battery die on me? Yes. I apologize. I've never been called quiet and shy. But I really want to recognize this, and I think this will help younger individuals look at all the many ways you can do prevention. And with that, I'm going to segue to them, unless there are questions.
Any questions for Cynthia? Thank you so very much.
Make sure Bridget can talk if she would like. Okay, so I was going to talk about how well the girls are working together and how many events they have attended, whether a lot together, which is really nice to see 2 young ladies working hard to spread the word of fire prevention and life safety. So I am very happy with that, because when you have no complaints, it makes the year run a lot easier. On the fire prevention questions that they have to study for the contest, we will be revamping the questions, and possibly even the first question that they get when they are on stage, so that we don't like rehearsed as much as we would like you to just talk about what is your agenda, but we also need to know more than what you think your agenda will be as to what you are really going to do, type of thing. And this is not on the fire prevention realm, but I wasn't here yesterday because I unfortunately had to work. But if any of the executive committee members could go back to their companies, and if you have not purchased your Bessie Marshall tickets, yes, I'm still on that kick. If you could send back your tickets, whether if you're not going to buy them, that's fine. I would prefer you do buy them, but send them back as soon as you can. Thank you. Anything, Bridget? No, I'm good. Covered it.
Anything further? Go ahead, Mark. Go
Do
ahead.
you have a list of who has not sent you back the tickets that would help us?
I do, but I do not have that list with me today. I was finishing up, not that I do this at work, but I might have that list at work and forgot to email it to myself. So I will send that to you.
That would help us.
Oh, no problem. That's not a problem. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Bob, anything on the sprinkler committee at this point? Okay, go ahead, sir. With the legislator coming up, I'm sure there'll be some more comments.
Well, excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes, for the sprinkler committee, I know you all are probably tired of me speaking about trying to find a place to park these trailers. Well, we've kicked the can as far as we can kick it. First of all, my report has been electronically filed. It is there. But I just hit the high points of it. We need to find a place to park the trailers. And the second point is we need to find a place to park the trailers. The building they're being parked in will be demolished sometime after the end of this month. Now, Talbot County has been very, very gracious for the past 5, maybe 6 or 7 years, allowing us to park it in a building. I've been asking now for over 2 years, because that's when I was told they're going to tear down this building. So we're still there, folks. And that's just the beginning. I'm going to read something to you from my report. The last few months, we had several requests for the use of the sprinkler demolition trailers, or demonstration trailers. And I want to say this sadly, we were unable to meet the requests of the people who wanted to see these things. And there's a multitude of sin here. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch over it. But what I'm going to tell you is, I feel, and this includes myself, we need to do better. I've spoke with their president, and he and I have had some very good conversations. And I'm going to speak to the 2 vice presidents. You need to find new chairman, new vice chairman, and some more committee members. I've been the chairman or vice chairman for several years, Jamie McNeil before me, Jeff Thompson before him, and I can go on and on down the list. I can't speak for her, but I'm going to speak about her. Teresa Crisman's got more on her plate than she knows what to do with, to be the chairman of this committee, or vice chairman of this committee. For the last several years, when they had to be fixed, yes, I've got a committee, it's got a lot of names on it. It got to the point I got tired of calling people, hey, we need help. And for the past couple years, I will tell you, quite honestly, I never brought this up before, but my family helped me and my friends helped me. In October, every one of us was out of town every weekend. When do they need them? On the weekends. When do they have to get repaired? On the weekends and at nights. It is a broke system. We've got time. The majority of the work has to be done in the fall. So there is time to fix the problem, but it needs to be fixed. The very least we need is a station on the eastern shore and one on the western shore with separate staff to maintain these trailers. I've spoke with the president, and I've assured him I will continue to work with him throughout his administration. I'm working right now to find a place to temporarily house these trailers on the eastern shore until we can find a permanent place to put them. It's not as easy as you think. 26 foot long, 8 foot wide, 12 foot tall. Have to be kept inside. Have to have enough room to work on them. Have to be able to get to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not easy, but it can be done, and we'll find places. I will find some place on the eastern shore. I don't know about the western shore. It's on the other side of a big bridge. It's just north of me. And when I get over on this side, I get a little lost. But people over here do know places to put them. And I've been asking. I don't know. I've been assured that we've got enough money that we can cover rent within reason. We've got money for that. We just need to find a place to put them. The other issue we have is how to move them. In the past, I had a company that would actually, they donated their time, their equipment, and their employees to move these trailers for me. All I did was call them ahead of time. They could come pick them up. They would deliver them. They'd go back and pick them up. They'd bring them back to me. Worked great. And the man was very, very gracious. All he wanted, he didn't even ask for a thank you. All he said was, I want to help. But his business expanded. He absorbed work from some other businesses. He's no longer able to do it. They take 1.25 ton minimum truck to move. 1 ton will do it. We've moved them with 3/4. You don't want to do that. That is not good. 1 ton minimum, 1.25 ton dually truck is what we need. The president has assured me that we can probably find one of those somewhere for the association that can be used for that. That will be a big help, that's for sure. But that's where we are. That's the reality of life with the Sprinkler Committee today. I will now accept any questions.
I think the direction is we keep on working, and it's serious, folks, now, because we're running out of time. Clock's ticking, so let's check around locally. I just made some notes where I'm going to try, so each of us try to find local on each side of the bridge and see if we can't maintain this, because it is a tremendous demonstration for the residential sprinklers. It really is. I think most people here have seen it, and I tell you, it's just so effective to be out there in the public with these items. So let's give Bob some help. Thank you, Chief. Okay, Charlie, you have anything on the Hall of Fame? Oh, pardon, who missed? Go ahead, Ben, I'm sorry.
Just a comment. Bob, I have a member of our company, Ray Kozlowski. He hauls trailers for Williams and would be more than glad, and I think we've used them before to bring the sprinkler trailer up our way.
Ray's who was doing it for me on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful individual.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody else? Charlie, anything on Hall of Fame? And we'll have Constitution and bylaws on deck.
Yeah, just one thing as you members go around to your various companies and counties, mention to the membership that the first requirement on the Hall of Fame nomination is activity with the State Firemen's Association. And I know, being on the committee for several years and being around the state for quite a while, that a lot of the people who don't list that in their applications have served various committees and things within the state association. There's a couple sticklers for that requirement on the committee, and so there's some people that probably should be considered seriously for the Hall of Fame that are being passed over because we don't put that detail in. All right.
Very good. Thank you, Charlie. Anybody else for Hall of Fame? Thank you. Constitution bylaws, Eddie, and after that, past President Lewis, you can do grants and also MVFC. Anything, Eddie? Good report.
Actually, I don't really have much to say. I can just yell at you from here for a second. They can't hear you.
If you're going to do it, come on up to the mic, please. Thank you. That's right. Roger and Ron Block need to hear you.
Okay. Whoops.
It's on. I can hear it.
Huh?
You're on. Just get close to it, Eddie. You're on.
No, you ain't touch it. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. You're on.
Okay. I guess the thing doesn't want to talk. Anyway, I don't.
You got to. You got to get on tape.
Talk to it.
Just go. It's on.
All right, we'll try it. Okay, that works. It's modern technology I'm not in. I think we had a minor boo-boo somewhere. When I moved to parliamentarian with the promotion offered by the president, I couldn't very well serve on the Constitution and Bylaws Committee and be a parliamentarian at the same time. It's kind of like being a legislator and a judge. at the same time. You can't write the laws and then interpret the laws at the same time. So there was supposed to be another chair for this committee so that I would be free to pursue the parliamentarian thing. I will take the hit on it. Should have been a little more closer in touch with the president about a replacement to chair this committee. I have not been. I'll take the hit on that. So at the present time, I don't really have anything to add.
Very good. The president and I will work on that, and we will. Thank you very much for that information, Eddie, and appreciate the report, and we will work on that issue. Past President Dave Lewis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Executive Committee, presidents, other people. Sorry I couldn't be here yesterday. I received notice on Thursday that FedEx wanted to deliver yesterday between 10 and 2, and they showed up at 3:30, typical to their schedule. But I did watch by Zoom, so I thank the committee there for allowing me to do that. I'll start. I gave you 3 reports, all of which have been submitted electronically. Additional copies back on the table for those who don't play electronically. I'll start with the Grants Committee. Our primary effort is monitoring the FEMA Big 3 programs. I certainly want to, let me see, I try to get some additional notes here that I have. The FY21, actually it should be 21, the FY21, it is a year behind allocation. Those grants were all awarded by the end of September as needed to be by law for the appropriations account. If you did submit, actually it is 22. If you did not receive a grant, submitted a grant for FY22 and did not receive it, you should receive a turn down letter. I don't know that they have all gone out yet because I know I have one that was turned down and I haven't seen a letter yet. But I encourage you to do 3 things. Number 1, contact the regional grant specialist, which is Dan Mulville for Maryland, and ask them to provide you details. They won't provide you the exact comments that the peer reviewers may have put in there, but they will kind of key you into what categories, whether it be financial need, cost benefit, or project description that you scored weekly on, so you kind of know where to go with it. The second one is FEMA has, I think starting this week, doing a series of turn-down webinars where they will talk to some of the things specifically that they see as common failure points for many applications to kind of help you there. And third of all is reach out to committee, me. I mean, I'd be glad to review anybody's application either as a turn-down review or before you submit. We are dealing with a little bit of a personnel change in the FEMA Grants Program Office, which is disappointing in an area in some way. Kathy Patterson, who we've dealt with for many years, since the inception of the grant program pretty much, has promoted to be the division director, which means she still is responsible for the fire grants programs, but she's also responsible for some other grants programs. So they did put out a job solicitation, and a gentleman by the name of Paul Parsons, who is coming internally from FEMA, but not familiar necessarily with the fire grants program, is coming on board, actually has come on board. I'm expected to meet him at a meeting we have coming up on December 15th. We expect that the FY23 grant period will open shortly after the first of the year. I can tell you that there's going to be some change. I can tell you that I personally took a charge from the National Volunteer Fire Council to go to criteria development representing the volunteers across America. And what's most important to us? Having a set of compliant turnout gear on, having a set of compliant SCBA on our back, having a thermal imaging camera, having a radio, and having a piece of fire hose that's not going to break on you. That's essentially what I need to get in the door and put the fire out. And those things are going to be the highest priorities in the FY23 program. Everything else, the extrication equipment and the other crap that everybody puts in for, may be important to you, but again, with a limited amount of funding, we had to make sure that our firefighters go in the door with a set of gear, a SCBA, a radio, a thermal imaging camera, and a fire hose in their hand. And those are going to be the highest price. So you're going to see some changes. The criteria development group is getting together with Mr. Parsons and with Kathy on December 15th to kind of discuss what we agreed to at the last criteria development and kind of get a, I guess, a sneak peek, if you would, with the funding document. The other thing that we're tackling is the reauthorization, because without reauthorization, the fire grant program goes away on September 30th, 2024. And every fire service organization, not just the National Fire Service organizations, but many other organizations have pushed the legislation as hard as they can. I believe that somewhere along the line they're going to sign it. I believe it's political death to them if they don't sign it. The fact that the fire service depends upon it, a lot of municipalities, counties, and states depend upon it. It's a program that's certainly got to go through. So I wanted to also add to my report, because Ron had mentioned the burden that departments are going through with reimbursement. And we've had a lot of discussion at the National Volunteer Fire Council about that. Sarah Lee, our executive director, actually had a long discussion with Kathy Patterson in the Grants Program Office. And first I want to assure that this change in directive didn't come from the Grants Program Office. It came from a result of an IG audit. And the Grants Program gets audited by the IG. That report goes to our congressional folks. So obviously we don't want to have black marks when we go to congressional folks, especially at a time when we're asking for reauthorization. So there, the burden is just as heavy on us as it is them. I can tell you, the numbers over just the last couple of months, they've had 15 people from the Grants Program Office working on over 7,000 funding requests. Now you can imagine that times all the receipts that they're making everybody put in for. And that's for grant programs for FY20 and beyond. I got a SAFER grant that's FY18, and I'm lucky. I put a reimbursement request in, and it goes in just like the old days. Check comes back. New one won't be so easy. So we've discussed a number of alternatives with the Grants Program Office, and we don't know where this is going to go, but there's some options that we're looking at is having a department put in the receipts for their first reimbursement request, just so that the grant specialist can review it to say, okay, they've got things lined up, they're budgeting correctly, we have good faith that they'll continue to do that. That's one of the options. Maybe do more desk reviews. If anybody's ever been through the Grants Program Office, the Grants Office, they have the option to come in and say, hey, we want to do a desk review of your last reimbursement. And for me, that's fairly easy, because I can tell you with my SAFER, I got a file drawer at the firehouse. And I got 9 project activities within that SAFER grant. And every time I have an expenditure, there's invoices, receipts, copies of checks in that folder. So when they came in, I said, what do you want to see? And they say that. Okay, I pull that folder out and bang, it was there. So again, you do the right job, be fiscally prudent, you have no problem. The other one is accept a general ledger report and details. Again, they will just make sure that you are doing proper accounting for the federal money. Look at the general ledger report and a random sample of receipts and invoices. Offer a tiered approach where smaller grants with less oversight than larger grants. And then the other option is, hey, for the larger grants, they're already doing a formal A133 audit, so why don't we accept that audit report in lieu of all that? So we're continuing to work this. This is a result of actually just discussions that we had just earlier this week that we are looking at. So I guarantee you we are looking at that problem at the national level.
Dave, has there been any success in trying to get sam.gov to accept post office boxes versus street address? I have been fighting with them because we don't have street delivery, and if the street address goes into the system and they do something, it doesn't exist in Liberty Town.
sam.gov is just
Yeah, don't say it. I know exactly
Nightmare.
what you're thinking.
Nightmare.
Yes.
I'll leave the four-letter words out.
They're a nightmare, exactly.
And yes, we're continuing to fight it. We've not made any success. I can tell you that you go into sam.gov for the National Volunteer Fire Council, it still says we reside at Walker Drive in Greenbelt, and we had been in that office since before COVID.
Yeah, they're a mess. I was just wondering, like I said, I've
So
been fighting
so
with
even
them
the
about
National Volunteer Fire
boxing.
Council is going through the same mess.
They keep bouncing every time I put a post office box in. They bounce.
Oh, they
It's
want a physical address.
Yeah.
And actually, National Volunteer Fire Council has technically a physical office. 'cause
And we
it's-
have
it's such and
physical
such and
address,
such.
it just doesn't get mail.
Well, it's such and such and such address in Washington D.C., which is one of these storefront things where they give you an address, but it really is a kind of a PO box.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a problem we are working. So again, I have attached to my report. There's a couple things on there. One is a highlight that just come out from FEMA within the last couple of weeks. It did talk about the program status update for FY23, some things that people should be looking at. And then the other is the link through the National Volunteer Fire Council grant writing skills. There's an online class through the Virtual Learning Network. It's free. You actually hear my voice because I developed that class and put it online. And that class is being offered for free. And then on December 13th, we have a roundtable talk, which I'll be participating in, to talk about grant writing tips and resources that are available. So that's all I have for the grants, unless there are any questions for that.
Any other questions for past President Lewis? Thank you, sir. Want to do MVFC while you're here?
Turn the page, National Volunteer Fire Council. Again, Eric Bernard and I both represent the MSFA as your directors, and we both serve actively serve on committees. And the board of the MVFC is represented by 2 representatives from each state, and the board meets twice a year. So our fall meeting was just held this past September in Cooperstown, New York, hosted by FASNY. We had 66 members representing 40 states there, and actually had a pretty full agenda, mainly talking about some of the issues that we look at. The issues that we look at this room, we look at the NVSC at a national level, and that's the volunteer advocacy issues, cancer issues, mental wellness issues, training, finances, all those things are looked at national level. One of the things that we did legislative-wide, I think Bob Cumberland talked about this yesterday a little bit, was the HERO Act, Helping Emergency Responders Overcome HERO Act. We put that on our priority list to kind of push that through there. It's actually to provide a series of programs designed behavioral health, mental health issues for public safety personnel. So we did that at our meeting there, put that on our legislative priority list. We'll continue to monitor that. We also established a new scholarship program through the NVFC. It's the Ron Roy Memorial Scholarship. Ron Roy was director from Washington State, passed away, unfortunately, this past year from cancer, and on July 31st, and we honor him with a memorial scholarship. We'll meet again in April in Arlington, Virginia. Our spring meeting is always held in Arlington, Alexandria, that kind of area. Usually we wrap that around the CFSI. That's subject to change depending. CFSI is kind of there. Again, I'd encourage you to take back to have people take advantage of our virtual learning network. There's always new classes being added. We also have a series of webinars that are popped out every few months. We pop out a new one. And again, the NVSC can bring training to you. If there's specific courses, topics that MSFA wants, and I know that Kate has had them kind of come in at convention with some of those programs. We, just as members in this room, are concerned with mental wellness issues, and the MVFC has the member benefit program through Provident Insurance that's available to all MVFC members. And it's certainly, again, a lot of things that we need to look at. I'd continue to encourage you to sign your members up to the MVFC membership. Normal dues are $21. That's reduced to $18 for Maryland because we had an agreement in because we pay for it through the grant, and we kind of went on the we're paying through the grant. We budgeted based on the $18 and up before you raised it to 21. And so that's $18, but MSFA pays one half of it. So that means for just $9 a year, you can sign up your members as members of the MVFC. Currently, Maryland has 685 people who are also NVFC members. They give you access to the insurance, the first responder assistance program, free training policies, sponsorship for travel stipends to our annual training summit and things like that. So I'd personally like to see us continue to grow our membership and at some point be over 1,000. I can tell you the state of North Carolina, basically, they write a check every year, and every member of the volunteer company in North Carolina is also a member of the National Volunteer Fire Council. And they write like a $23,000 check or something like that, or $28,000 check every year. There are a number of attachments to my electronic report that I continue to add. There was an email blast out to the state coordinators just last week, talks about hazmat travel training stipends. Tom Miller, who some of you have seen, he's been down to the Life Safety Summit at College Park and done some training as well as travel, has done. Him and Dave Bowler from Georgia have actually put together a very good hazmat training program. They're going to put together some regional offerings, I think 6 regional offerings across the United States, and there is an opportunity for travel stipends through the NVSC for that. The annual awards program is open, and again, there is attachments for the hazmat travel stipends as well as the annual awards copied to your report. And I already talked about the free grant writing course also is attached. And there's some other things: pipeline response, wildfire response, and a number of other things that are coming up. I mentioned webinars earlier. We got one just coming this week, understanding solar and electric storage system technologies. There's a very good webinar that'll be online this week. And I think all of that's in attachments to my report, which was submitted electronically. And I'll offer any questions that there may be from the National Volunteer Fire Council.
Any questions for Past President Lewis? Thank you, Dave.
I would like to offer, I offered probably for the first time a report from the Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association, currently serving as president of that organization. And
we revised that yesterday. Congratulations.
I submitted that report electronically and would invite the president and secretary to put us on standing agenda when you do the other organizations. So
writing it down as you speak.
So we do have the report that I did submit, brief report. Those that may not be familiar with the Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association, goes back to history of 1901. When the Cumberland Valley Railroad ran through portions of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. And the departments in those 4 states that centered the railroad got together and say, hey, we need to work together. We need to train together, we need to have common operating practices, and more importantly, which is the funny part of it, we need to be able to hook our hoses together. Hose connections have been a problem like forever. And so there actually is a patent, although nobody uses it, for the Cumberland Valley hose thread, because they did it with a common thread. This was before the days of NFPA. And I could tell you, we still haven't solved that problem, because I could tell you, my water system in Odin comes from Baltimore City, so I have a Baltimore City hose thread on my hydrants. But if I go next door to Fort Meade, it's national standard, so I gotta carry an adapter on every fire engine. So, what got us together originally is 4 states. Has kind of been the beginning of a lot of other things to look at things that are regional issue, regional concern, now even national and even international concern. Kind of look at what happened 25 years ago in the death of Joe Crova Sr. in Halfway, as well as the fire chief death up in Pennsylvania, caused us to take a look at what's happening with vehicle struck by incidents and the need for more training, the more standards, the more equipment, and that's when we formed the Emergency Responder Safety Institute.
And that the Emergency Responder Safety Institute, I could tell you, has looked at nationally and even internationally for the stuff that we've done. I could tell you, I go to meetings regularly with Federal Highway Administration, and they look to us for numbers and what's happening across the highways. And that's supposed to be their job. But again, Cumberland Valley and the Emergency Responder Safety Institute really are fundamental. So it's important to understand not necessarily the what we do, because we could speak all day long about what we do, but it's important to talk about why we do it. And Bob Cumberland mentioned this yesterday, that so far we've marked 40 responders killed on America's highways in 2023. 7 of those from fire and EMS, 12 from law enforcement, 18 tow operators, and 3 from DOT and service patrols. That's the why. That's why we do what we do with the Emergency Responder Safety Institute. And it's very important that again, the efforts that we have. We held our annual convention back in August. That's hosted by Singerly. Thank John Denver and the folks from Singerly for hosting that. There were certainly a number of MSFA people there, especially for the part that was called what we call the President's Council, which is always our Friday meeting where the presidents, the leadership of all, not just those 4 states, but again, all the regional states, West Virginia, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, New Jersey, get together, as well as our federal partners, and discuss issues of mutual concern as well as successes. I was honored to take on the position as president, representing that organization at a regional and national level. And again, I thank the president as well as other representatives of the MSFA and our partners organizations for coming up and attending our President's Council meeting. Maryland always shines brightly at that President's Council meeting. Maybe because we have such excellent working relationship, not maybe, it is because we have excellent working relationship with our partners, and we bring our partners with us. That collaboration between the state leadership really kind of goes back to why we were formed in 1901. Looking at issues at a regional level, and looking at issues at a national level, and that's where the Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association lives today. We followed up that meeting with a meeting in Odin in October, and I can tell you one of the first actions I took as president was offer a resolution to change our name from Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association to the Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association. And I did that by resolution. Might be a little bit unorthodox, but again, I did not want to hate to say, I did not want to drag this out. As many of you understand the pains of dragging that out. And so we could only modify our bylaws at convention, just here in the MSFA. And so we did it by resolution, and we'll follow that up with the bylaws change, which again, with the passage of the resolution unanimously by the people that were there, I don't expect any issue to come up with the bylaws. But heretofore and therefore, we are now referred to as the Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association. I also proposed some changes to organizational structure. I'm sure the gentlemen sitting over at the table, as well as any past presidents, know that we struggle, in the MSFA where we have, I don't know, I'll say 50 different committees. What do those committees do? And what's the charge to those committees? I know I went through that same thing when I was president of this organization. And I charged each committee chair with establishing some goals and doing things other than just, I'm on the committee. And I'm doing the same thing in the Cumberland Valley. In fact, I got rid of some committees and I consolidated some committees, and it may not make everybody happy, but again, my goal is to make the organization more efficient. So I would ask you to become part of the Cumberland Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association, just $5. We often make a statement that, in fact, I think it was when I was running through the chairs of the MSFA, Steve Austin reached out his hand and says, here, give me $5. And I've been a member of Cumberland Valley since then. But again, you can go online and become a member, help support our activities. More importantly, the responder safety is our big thing. We have an online learning network that has 48 learning modules onto it that can be taken for free. And because, again, we go after grant funding to do that. And every one of those are topical relative to roadway safety. There's also information on there that you as a training officer can download and then just take the training back to your department. Not necessarily say, okay, all of you go on the learning network. We can do it here.
And so again, those resources are available, as well as, again, we can provide people out to your organization and do training as well. Upcoming meetings, our spring meeting, we really only meet 3 times a year, a spring meeting, a fall meeting, and convention in between. Our spring meeting is going to be in Newport, Pennsylvania, March 16th and 17th. They said that's St. Patty's Day, and I said, okay, wear your Dougie Simpkins green outfit, right? And our next convention is going to be hosted by Halfway at the end of July, early August. So again, I invite you to join us, and I know that the president and will be there for the president's council, hopefully. So again, I thank you for the opportunity to bring you this additional report today, and certainly would appreciate an opportunity to continue to reporting on that, because again, Maryland is an important part of the Cumberland Valley Association. Gene Worthington, Bob Cumberland, and some others are past presidents of that organization, and what we do at the Cumberland Valley, I can tell you, we're recognized at a national and even. There were numbers that I heard the other day that really talked about how many outside the United States users that we have on the Learning Network, you know, from Japan and South America, Africa, Russia, I mean, everywhere. So we have an international reach, because the why, those 40 responders are what we're out there. And fortunately, if you look at how many fire and EMS personnel, those numbers were really bad. And I think our educational outreach has made progress. I don't want to say that 7 is a good number for this year, but it's a lot better than what we have been. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield to any questions, and that concludes my 3 reports.
Very good, Dave, and I have made a note to include that on the next agendas. Anything further? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Laura, you have anything for Sergeant of Arms? I saw you back there wave. I wasn't forgetting you. You're next.
I couldn't understand what you said. I'm so anxious to get up there.
You have anything? No? Do you have a report? No, that's all I need to know.
I have a report.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you to being appointed to this again, and enjoy it very much. I'd like to bring it to a memory type of thing right now. If anybody sees this at any time, I'd like to let them know how that got there. Our friend Tom Collins did it. And every time I look at it, I remember him. He says, you know, they don't pay attention to this. And sometimes I have to use it. So thank you again, and everybody has been tremendous this weekend.
This has been a very good weekend. And thank everybody for their indulgence, and really, it's been very quiet. I don't think you've had to yell once, and I haven't hit the gavel any, so that's really good. Okay, going right down the line. Jonathan, you want to do recruitment and retention, and what else we have? Volunteer trumpet?
First, we'll start with the volunteer trumpet just quickly. I do have extra copies up here if you haven't received one. First off, I want to thank Stephen Jenkins, our social media manager, for a lot of his help with the publication. As you've known, we've changed the design over the past several issues since convention. Really proud of the new design. I think it looks excellent. I mentioned at the last meeting, we also redid the logo separate from the MSFA just for the trumpet, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive for the publication itself. One of the big things that's been happening recently is we're taking a look at the mailing address list in its entirety. I updated it here pretty recently within the last 6 months, but we're taking a look at it again. It hasn't been updated since 2012, which I think was when past President Lewis may have started the trumpet. So it's been about 11 years since we've even re-examined it. I'll tell you that there were many people on there that have passed away, departments that were even no longer in existence. So we've removed them from the mailing list and updated it appropriately with all the new addresses that we have. So if you haven't received a copy or would like a copy or know of individuals or departments that haven't been receiving it, please let me know so that we can make changes to it. We've been able to slim it down pretty significantly and shave off some of the mailing costs associated with it within the past a little while. Last thing on the trumpet, still looking for content. I need content. We stress every month the need for writers and content. I usually get nothing except for the chairman, who sends me an article religiously, which is I'm very appreciative of. So we continue to search for content. I also always make the joke that I don't like to feature my own departments in there multiple times, but it happens that I feature my departments in there multiple times because no one else across the state of Maryland likes to send in any pictures or information from their own departments, whether that be an open house, fundraiser, cadet promotion, someone passing Fire 1 class, award ceremony. No one sends me content. And it's quite sad, especially on the retention side, that we can't take 5 minutes of our own time to publicize and thank our members for what they do. So that's my plug for the trumpet. Happy to answer any questions. Yes?
Jonathan, would you ever take any content from the state or the county auxiliaries?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, I think I asked you about emailing the volunteer trumpet to all the legislators, the executive branch of in Annapolis. Have you been able to do anything with that?
Yeah, so that was a good question, Mark. I checked the mailing list. Every legislator in Annapolis receives a hard copy to their office. It has been set up that way since 2012, and it has been recently updated with all the last elections so that new legislators that have been recently elected within the past year are receiving that newsletter. In addition, the governor's office already receives a copy, as well as all his executive command staff, Secretary of General Services, the Superintendent of State Police, Maryland State Fire Marshal's office, all receive copies. We could email them to them as well. If we think that's appropriate, we can most certainly email it to them, but their offices do receive our copies.
And then the other comment is that, and Chief Phillips may have input on this, but doing a special edition of the trumpet for the legislators in Annapolis, putting information in about our leadership, putting information in about 17 State Circle, who the legislative committee is, and our agenda for the upcoming year, and but just make it specific to the legislators and the leadership in Annapolis, and then sending that out to them. I know in the past we've done a trifold and other literature, but again, I'm just thinking if we did something with the volunteer trumpet, special edition for legislators, again, to help spread the word of what we're doing.
Comments?
I think it's a great idea.
Good. No,
Yeah.
I agree.
What I would say is if, two different ways. Number one, if you've already got the ability to send it to their office, that's great. I know on the, let me take a real quick look here. On the 11th and 12th of January, the legislative committee will be going around to both the House and the Senate into each office of every legislator there and hand delivering information about the MSFA.
Okay. Be happy to do, I think Mark made a really good point, happy to do a special edition for legislative session. That's not an issue. My only comment would be that in order for Stephen and I to put that together and get it printed in time for you to hand deliver it, I think it'd be best if you had hard copies in hand when you go around. We need content at least at minimum 3 weeks prior to that date. So if January 11th is when you're looking at, we probably would need it late next week, early the following, to get it to Chronicle Press to get printed in time. And with a special edition like that, we could also, if it's not appropriate for everyone, we could slim down the list and have just enough copies printed for the legislature and for the executive committee, whomever else would also want copies. So not an issue to do that. We can start drafting it so that way it's ready to go, but then when you ask the chair and whomever else that wants to prepare that material, I would say 10 days from now, we need that content. Any other questions? Perfect. Recruitment retention, I'm not sure what Kate covered yesterday. She covered some stuff with you. Just want to kind of highlight again, we did hold a recruitment retention forum in October in College Park. Lower attendance, but I think the content was very relevant, and I think everyone that was in attendance got something out of being there. I know that I, learned a lot from being there, and we even learned at that meeting, the trumpet too was being sent to places that were no longer in existence and places that are warehouses that aren't even fire stations. So we learned a lot of stuff that day. We brought in a speaker from Western Maryland that was, different than what we typically would bring in for recruitment and retention. I've stressed for a long time that I think that all our recruiters in the state of Maryland are really well educated on how to do their job. Who's not educated on how to do their job are the presidents and fire chiefs of their stations. And we brought the speaker in hoping to gear it towards fire chiefs and presidents and leadership of departments. What I found in my travels, and I mentioned this in a meeting here here recently, I've been from California, Texas, Rhode Island, Nebraska, you name it, I've been there. And the challenges are all basically the same, and it comes down to leadership. New ideas and initiatives to reach the next generation of folks or retain folks that you already have. Programs aren't started and followed through because the leaders of the departments fail to act on that. Reasons why? Well, because they're hard-headed and they're stuck in the 1980s. I'm not going to elaborate any further. But part of the Recruitment and Retention Committee, I think our charge is to reach that next level of folks being the leaders of the departments and changing kind of the approach that we take in that mission that we're going for. We also held a webinar just after that forum. We weren't planning on doing a webinar, but we held one primarily because we got talking at the forum and we missed the portion of the meeting that was dedicated to marketing. So we decided to do a half-an-hour webinar dedicated to marketing. Stephen and I put that together. Half an hour of marketing tips and tricks, 15 minutes of marketing tips and tricks, 15 minutes of going over one particular design platform. We also found during that half an hour that people need more than a half an hour. It truly takes probably at least 3 hours to really get into the nuts and bolts of how to properly use a design platform, how to look at social media appropriately. Stephen had a couple talks about doing another webinar. So that's in the works for probably early next year. Additionally, looking and talking with Kate, maybe something at convention that can be more geared towards recruitment, retention, leadership, and social media marketing, some more to come there. Happy to answer any questions that you all have. The last thing that I'll mention is, and I'm sure that Kate or President Smothers may mention, we recently traveled to West Virginia to the Fire Commission in Canaan Valley. Talked to them about some recruitment retention things that we've been doing at the MSFA, more in particular the SAFER grant, hiring some folks and what we've been doing that's been a huge success here in Maryland. I think they were very receptive of us being there, had some ad hoc conversations about doing some presentations for them in other parts of West Virginia, getting more in depth as to some more of the nuts and bolts that we've really been doing and learning about. I'll yield some time back and answer any questions that anyone has.
Anybody from the Executive Committee? Susan?
Yes, Jonathan, so the recruitment retention weekend that you had, unfortunately was scheduled when I was not available to be there, and I know I can't be the only one. Are you planning on doing more of those sessions? Is there a thought to making it available online so that people that are doing leadership positions and very busy can't be in two places at one time?
Yeah, we didn't do it virtually. I think that's something we can definitely discuss for next time. The webinar in particular was asked about it multiple times if it was recorded, and we did not record that. However, the next webinar that we do, we will record it so that we can send it out. I think that's mightily important to have that available as well. But yes, schedules were challenging for the weekend that we chose, mainly because people were busy. But LAMSFA had their annual meeting in the fall as well, and so that took away some people. However, all the dates in October are super challenging to meet. So I agree with your comment, and we most certainly can look at hybrid options for next time.
Yeah. And I would also encourage you to do multiples of them. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 times a year instead of just once or...
Sure.
Because I think you're right in that leadership sometimes is the most important people to request that they understand this stuff, and they are the most resistant to it.
Absolutely. Kate?
So Susan, just so you know, next year, I just sent the information to Jonathan yesterday. We're going to have a conversation about Mission CIT is offering a recruitment and retention officer course, which we're going to hold regionally through the SAFER grant. We just received the proposal this week. So we'll have it in each of the 4 regions and then probably in the metro region and possibly upper and lower Eastern Shore. So this way we can touch everybody, but that will be 5 or 6 sessions over the course of 2024.
And the last thing that I failed to mention was the strengthening fire EMS across the state of Maryland Commission. It's basically recently concluded. I'm sure Kate may have touched on that before as well. The report should be out here relatively soon if it hasn't been transmitted to the governor's office already, and we'll be sharing those results forthcoming.
Jonathan, for you and Kate, I just want to say thank you for traveling out to West Virginia this past week. It was very well received, and if you're listening to what Jonathan's saying, the upper leadership of our departments really have to engage in the recruitment and retention. If you bring someone into your department, and I said it yesterday, if you don't do anything with them in that first 90 days, you will lose those individuals. You got to get them up and moving and give them a task. And I said this out in West Virginia, just in my own department, I brought 12 new members in. Went to a high school, started with 3 that I got. As I said, you get them 1 at a time. You don't get them 8, 9, 10 at a time. You get them 1 at a time. And within that 2 weeks, I had 7 new members, just from the high school. And then my ladies auxiliary, they brought 3 other new members in. So in like a 3-week time span, I brought 12 new members in. But then you got to assign them a mentor, which we have the booklets. We wrote the template for it. You got to get the folks interested in picking up and being that mentor to help them go through the process. The newer folks today, if it's not on their cell phone, they seem to not know how to navigate the system to get in. But we have folks that you bring in that departments we still, and I still hear it when I go around the state, you bring new members in and people, your current folks in-house don't want to engage with the new folks coming in the door. We can't do that. We're spending a lot of time, money, and resources to bring people in. We need to interact with the new folks. Give them a task. The new guy that's taking on the drones for us, for our committee. He's in his mid-20s, and he's a go-getter. I give him a task. He's like, Chief, what do I need to do? How do I make it work? I said, here's the template. Here's what you need to do. Here's the contacts. And he's off and running. Let him take care of you. We've got to, as administrators, we have to release the reins a little bit. We've got to let the new folks take the reins. It may not be the way that I do it or your previous officers have done it. They've got new direction, new vision, and we've got to be open and receptive to that. So please, when you bring folks in, listen to what they're telling you. And I guarantee you, your departments will grow. The folks in West Virginia, they were scratching their head when we left. And I'm telling you, after our meeting, the conversations went on till quite a few hours into the evening. Because then it's the after, you give them that hour, and then they still have a lot of questions. And Jonathan and I stayed there, particularly to continue to ask their questions. So they want us to come back out there, but I told them they can't keep Jonathan. He belongs to us. But they've got good ideas, and we've opened our eyes. And I'm telling you, folks will look at our website. You got to update your resources. You got to update your officers, because when the phone calls start coming in, if there's no one on that end to answer it, you're going to die in the vine.
Mr. Chairman? A lot of you don't know this, but Rehoboth Beach, Delaware has gotten 2 national awards in the past year for recruitment and retention. And I spoke to the fire chief the week of 9/11. I would like to see us at the convention we need to focus on losing people. Ocean City is horrible. Our volunteer fire system has just dropped to nothing. And Rehoboth Beach is almost like a sister city to us. And their recruitment and their level of active firefighters is higher than it's ever been. And we need to learn from them what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And part of what President Smothers says is what the chief's relaying to me. We all know we're getting critical on this, but I would like to see us at the convention, Rehoboth Beach being so close as they are to the convention center in Ocean City, have them be one of the keynote speakers and do a by Jesus with all of us sitting out there, what is working for them. And I know we hear all this other new concepts of fire and all that's good. But if we don't have firefighters, and we all know this, we don't have firefighters fighting fires, we're in trouble. And something's working for them, and one of them is a quick intervention with the young people and asking the young people what they want to do. And you might have a guy that's going into medical science or whatever, and he maybe wants to only do EMS or whatever. But as far as their response goes, and most of you don't know this or do know this, that Sussex County is one of the fastest growing counties in the United States. And their call volume is going up, not down. Lewis, Delaware is the second busiest, Seaford being first, Rehoboth Beach being third. But with smells and bells and accidents, their call volume is as high as Ocean City almost. And I think we need to listen to them. There are mostly about a 90% volunteer fire department, true volunteer fire department. And you meet with them ahead of time and say, tell us what is working, and put up a good PowerPoint presentation. Maybe we'll learn from it.
So our guest speaker at that forum was Vice President Warren Jones from Rehoboth Beach Fire Department. And it's, again, one of my comments. I know the weekend was busy and people were busy. We had over 30 people registered, and we had about a half show up. And so the content was there. The speaker was ideally exactly what you're talking about. There was just no one in the room. And so I think having another conversation with Warren and bringing him to convention in some capacity to talk about what
Warren is really good, but I would recommend, when you're a young person, you come into fire service, you want excitement. And I think we need to go back to this thing. They're winning and we're not. So ask them and develop something that we can use to go back to our 350 fire departments. What is working for them? Because something's really working. I stood there and watched the people pull up like the old days in Ocean City, jump out of their cars, get on the fire trucks and get out of there. And it felt good. And we need to go back to what is working, because that's our bottom line. Is we don't have firefighters, we don't have anything. So I just want to share that with you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Anybody else for recruitment or retention or volunteer trumpet? Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan and Michael. Anybody from cancer support? Attorney Farlow was here yesterday with Wills for Heroes. Whoops, I'm sorry, Susan, didn't see you get up.
Greetings from the Cancer Support Committee. We held our first meeting over Zoom on November 30th, 2023. We had 9 members present. We discussed our gift card program, where any fire personnel member or a member of their immediate family who has received a cancer diagnosis or is undergoing treatment can receive a $100 gift card to Royal Farm, Wawa, or Sheetz. A person can receive this benefit up to 3 times a year. We are in the process of redoing the request form and working with the website team to get a new form made as soon as possible. The committee is working together on social media, updating links and making sure links are working. We have a small work group during this project. The walk-in Annapolis is April 28th, 2024. This will be a different format. It will be at the nighttime. It will be an evening stroll. Route will be the same. It will be on a go on your own pace. Stan and Joe's will be working with the MSFA and will be having a fundraiser as well that day. Stan and Joe's is only 2 blocks away from the memorial. Our next meeting will be January 25th, 2024 via Zoom. We look forward to working with everyone this coming year. Please reach out if you need anything. Respectfully submitted, myself, Susan Hilton.
Thank you, Susan. And that gift certificate program is just great. It's something that you all do, I think is really commendable. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Okay, attorney is not here, but I know I've actually contacted him on the Wheels for Heroes, and he has been assistance on that. Anybody from LoSAP? Or incentives? Teresa, anything further on health and wellness that we haven't already touched on? Okay. Any other committees or reports that we've overlooked? Because I've got all kind of notes here, so I could have missed somebody.
Chip, let me just touch
Mr.
on
President.
for fire police, because past President Cumberland couldn't be here. He's under the weather today, and Kevin Allball for fire police. So that committee is up and running. I've put Kevin's information, of course Bob's information is in the directory. So if you're interested in being a part of the fire police committee, reach out to those guys. I will also include Andrews on there for the UAV drone committee in the next newsletter coming out probably this Thursday, so that you have that information since it didn't make it in the directory. So they're starting to build both of those committees. You know, we're certainly paralleling what Cumberland Valley has done on the fire police side of that, so that our initiatives are the same. So there's a lot of good getting ready to come down the pike with that, and a lot of good comments from actually both committees that the interest is there. So, and then we'll try to tidy up. I'll reach out to try to get the battery work group going as well. So if you can't reach out to those folks, send me an email and I will make sure that it gets to where it needs to be if you're still interested in any one of those groups. But they are up and running. So.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any other committees or reports that we have not had? Okay, moving into old business. First, a matter of correction. On the motion, I stated contract employees. They are no longer contract. We now have employees. So let the record show to please delete the word contract. That was a error in my stating the motion, but that was not how the motion was made. Okay, under old business, we have a vote on an amendment proposal presented to the Executive Committee that has been tabled. That automatically comes off the floor at this meeting. I have asked the two of the past presidents to please contact Mr. Block and Mr. Steger so that we will have a full body to be able to, everybody on? Very good. Okay, everything, there's been a lot of discussion. However, I felt appropriate, and I'm glad the motion was made to allow each representative to go back to their county. If there's anything further to discuss, members of the Executive Committee, any further discussion? The motion has already automatically come off the table, has been called for the question. I would like a roll call vote. Do you have the exact motion wording? Yes.
Can you repeat the motion we're being asked?
Okay, to amend the name of the Maryland State Firemen's Association to Maryland State Firefighters Association.
Did you get that right? Did you get that? Yes. Ron, there'll be a roll call. Yes. Okay, it's going to be a roll call.
Okay, so we will do a roll call vote around the table. Mr. Dayton. Mr. Dayton, affirmative. Mr. Kurtz.
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz, affirmative. Mr. Cox.
Yes.
Mr. Cox, affirmative.
Yes.
Mr. Lutz, affirmative.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Dale. Very good. Mr. Bilger. Okay, I vote affirmative. Mr. Sutton? Yes. Oh, yeah, you do. You represent an individual, you do vote. You know you're chairman under Robert's rules. Because I'm actually representing, it's a difference between being a chairman at a meeting and being a representative of an organization. So it's not a chairman casts the vote only in a tie. I actually are here as a representative. So you do vote even though you're chairman. Slightly different under Robert's rules. Mr. Phillips?
Yes. Yes.
Fouts? Mr. Smith? No. Okay. The motion passed.
How about Block
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
Sager?
I'm sorry. You have to say those, please.
Go ahead with your vote.
Okay, Mr. Steger, affirmative,
Go ahead, Ron.
My vote is yes.
and Mr. Block. Very good.
Roger. Talk to you later. Talk to you later.
The amendment will be placed on the ballot pursuant to bylaws. The executive committee does have the authority to submit a amendment to the Constitution. It has passed the executive committee, so it will be submitted as an amendment to the bylaws to be voted on at the June convention. I would like to thank everybody that's been involved in this, pro and con, for and against. The discussion is needed. Discussion has been needed. Took a few more years to get to where we are, but I respect all the opinions, agree with a lot of opinions, but it is an issue that we certainly have to meet and address. I am hopeful that this is the only amendment on the ballot, but certainly individual companies still have that right. But I am hopeful by the fact that we've shown the leadership that we do not have additional ones, but again, it's up to the individual companies what they do or do not want to do. Any other action items or old business we need to attend to? Any new business to be brought before the Assembly? Okay. Like to go around the table for each county?
Before you do that.
I'm sorry.
Under
Mr.
new
Cox.
business. We were talking, and maybe Mitch wants to come up, but is there a method, or should we consider that if a company's going to request a VCAF loan, that they participate in the sale of the raffle tickets?
I think, did we do that once, Mitch? Is that already a policy? No, I remember it coming up for discussion one time.
They had to be in good standing.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But, I mean, we hear all the time that companies are not selling tickets, they're not participating and all, and I'm not at all against giving loans and helping departments, but we also need the help. And Ben and I were talking that if a given department comes up and they've turned tickets in 2-3 years in a row and haven't sold any, and then they come in and they want $1 million from us,
Yeah,
I think we need to talk about it.
Mr. Vogt.
Well, I just walked up and then reversed and I came back. I
Need to
think the
exercise.
discussion was before was maybe if they didn't, it had something to do with the dues back then also. You know, we would, add to the dues or something, but, you know.
Had to be in good standing.
Yeah, had to be in good standing, right.
But we didn't go far enough
Right.
on this.
And, go ahead.
In the discussion, just as you finished, and then the fire marshal came up, so we didn't get a chance to bring it up. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. But we were just thinking, as Mitch discussed, the percentage is under 45%.
About 45.
Statewide.
Yeah.
And yet, hey, I'm sorry, but like Steve said, if you're going for $1 million engine or going out ladder trucks or almost 2 mil, you know what I'm saying? And, well, but, the loan is for 75% of that figure. But, hey, you got to be in line and not each year throwing back to Mitch those raffle tickets. That's just how I feel.
Okay.
While we were at Ocean City at Sunfest, I actually had an auxiliary bring back 2 packs of tickets, one from their company and one from another company, and said we can't sell them, and actually handed them in at Sunfest.
I think maybe as part of the conversation, should we consider this? And if we do consider it, that it not start until next year or after this convention or whatever. I'm just throwing ideas out.
Do you want to just, as far as taking action, hold off, talk about our company's individual, and then make some kind of action after first year?
Just throwing it out
Okay.
for discussion.
Randy?
Mr. Chairman,
Well, there's no table, no motion at this point.
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
Being as we're looking at it, one, I think we need some input from VCAF, from
Yeah.
that committee.
Good point.
And 2, I don't want to burden Mitch with a bunch of extra work, but just in the last couple years in VCAF, can you tell us how many departments have gotten VCAF loans that do sell tickets versus those that don't?
I'd have to get with VCAF to see who they submitted
Right.
or who approved loans. I go back probably 10 years. I can go back 10 years and tell you who's returned money and who hasn't. I have an Excel spreadsheet
Like
every
I said,
year.
I don't want to cause you a bunch of work. but
Oh,
I
it's
think
no work.
in
I
order-
just hit the print button.
Yeah, in order to make an educated decision, I think those are two things we need. First, we need to hear from VCAF, and then two, we need to hear from Mitch, whether it is I agree, we need, the departments, I carried a $10,000 check back last convention to a department out west. You know, they were the top winner. And it was a department that actually, and you see that more often every year.
Yeah.
That the money's going back to the departments, and that's great. But I think we need some extra input into this thing to be able to make a decision.
We'll assign the two committees to work together and come up with a recommendation to the
Mr. Chairman.
executive committee.
Well, while I'm up here, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob.
While you're talking about this, without having my fire law book in front of me, I believe it's in code right now. They have to be a member in good standing of the MSFA. I think we need to remember that we are a conduit of the state money. Not so sure we can start adding requirements. That's where we need to check first. Because now we are saying you've got to comply with something for our association other than be a member in good standing. We're saying you got to go out here and sell tickets for us to help support us in order to get state money. I think that might be a slippery slope we need to check into before we go any further.
That's exactly why VCAF needs to be involved. They know the law of the process. That's why I'm saying we need to have them have their input into it exactly for what you're saying. Can we or can't we?
Okay, let's the three committees work together with the attorney and come back with a recommendation, pro or con, or what the situation is. Is that what everybody? Okay, the three committees and the attorney.
All right, while I'm up here, if you remember, some of you, prior to COVID, I started going around to all the county associations or tri-county, bi-county, however many we had. And I know there were 2 counties I didn't get to because of COVID. And I explained, I gave a detailed report, basically how the treasurers were set up. We have 4 separate accounts. This money is prohibited from being used except for, say, widows and orphans and so on. And then I explained we have the general fund. The raffle money goes into the general fund. The general fund, and I said, I recognize myself, my opinion, the 2 most important committees we have is 1, VCAF, and 2 is legislative. Because they are working for the fire companies in Annapolis, they're working on the 508 money, they are working on the VCAF money, and more importantly, personally in your own pocket, they are working with the LoSAP, okay, with your subtraction modification taxes. That's where the committees operate money from the general fund. That's where they operate. So by supporting the raffle, you're supporting your own wallet because they are down there fighting to get the money increase for LoSAP. That's the legislative committee. Then we got the VCAF. If you need a new engine, you need to get that money. Again, the legislative committee, but the VCAF, they all work together. So by the general fund money, which is where the raffle money goes, it's benefiting you as a company for equipment and benefiting you as a person because of the subtraction modification taxes. And that's what I was pushing when I went around there.
And I know you were in Frederick.
Right.
Heard it, so, yep, absolutely. And again, we need to, everybody have that message out to our locals also.
Right. So that's where I'm hitting home. So that's where you kind of want to aim and go for it when you go back to your county organizations.
Mitch, thank you very much for everything. Mr. Steve?
That, I think we need to make sure all companies know what's required to be a member in good standing.
Yep. Do it all one shot. Make sure everybody understands it. Thank you, Past President Cox. Any other new business? Any other new business? With respect to? We can. We can send something out, put it in the minutes.
I think secretary should be able to
Yeah,
handle that.
I can do that too.
Yeah.
If I get it done today, I'll get it to you, Jonathan, so you'll have it. I know I already got 2 of them going in there.
Well, but I think that's a good idea in the trumpet. But it also, just what Mitch said, some of that data that Mitch has as far as where the money goes, you know, what money can be touched, can't be touched, what goes, VCAF, and if we did buy the tickets or sell the tickets, it would increase the treasury by,
Yeah.
you know, that type of information. I know Mitch has gone around, you're right, he has gone around, but a lot of times it's not hitting the right people.
You
But
know,
I think
probably, in all honesty, I think a full article in a trumpet with all of this information versus just trying to hit is probably the way to go. And it won't get into this one because we got to have it tomorrow. But between Jonathan and I, we'll make sure that something gets in by the next edition. Dale?
Mr. Chairman,
Hit the back, push the back button. There you go.
how about now?
Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
So I'm just wondering if we're going to cause a little bit of confusion. I fully support getting out what is good standing, but if we come back at the next executive committee meeting and then add the requirement of the buying the raffle tickets, are we going to enter into some confusion to the member companies? And also, is it going to look like, oh, well, now they're adding one more step? What are they going to continue to add? I'm fully support that we have to get that out to our member companies so they understand what it means to be in good standing. But I think it would send maybe the wrong message if then all of a sudden we come out with another requirement, because we might get asked, are we going to keep adding requirements? So just throwing that
Good point.
thought out there.
Yep. And quite honestly, I don't think the trumpet would come out till after the next meeting anyway. That was kind of the intent. So, yeah, this wouldn't be till after the next meeting anyway.
Would it be prudent to hold off on the article until after the committees?
Well, that's when the next one will be anyhow. That's what we were saying. It won't be till
That's
after the
where I was
next meeting
trying to go.
anyway.
And I didn't throw it out there just that we had to do it. I threw it out there just so we could have a good, healthy discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea, and I think it should go out because there's a lot of companies that don't understand.
Yeah.
And but I just don't want to keep adding on. I know how that
by the
gets
way,
very,
here's something.
yeah, it gets
Yeah.
very cumbersome to them. And
Yep. It'll be out,
the-
like I said,
the-
it wouldn't be out till after the next meeting anyway, so we'll be on time.
The other thing I would hope, if I can continue on,
Yes, sir.
is that we wouldn't call individual companies out in a letter that is distributed statewide, i.e. this company did not support, because oftentimes, we all know how we change leaderships at our companies. You may have the leadership this year that doesn't support MSFA, and next year another leadership comes in and they do support it, because it's an up and downhill slope. I personally have been involved with companies that are like that, so I just think that sends a bad message. While we can use it as a checklist, and I'm not opposed to that, I don't think we should embarrass companies on an open forum.
Very good. Thank you, Dale. Good point. Mitch?
Had a couple suggestions in the back, and it does make some good sense. Raise the dues by $100, so they're now $300. And then if they buy their tickets, which 46% do, that goes towards that extra $100 due increase. They've already paid them. That might bring the other ones on board. If they don't want to buy, either you sell your tickets, get a chance to win $10,000. If you don't choose to, then it's a thought.
Something to think about.
That's why they call you slick.
Yeah. No, actually, no, that came from the back. I just brought the message up front. That was a good idea.
Yep, so the ad hoc committee can take that under consideration. Thank you, Mitch. Anybody else? Bill?
With that being a member in good standing, for myself and some of the other executive committee members, could we get a copy of that sent just to us, not in the trumpeter? So when we go talk to our areas, that we have it so we can educate them and have the right stuff to have.
Yeah, we can actually put out a quick thing. I can send an email to you guys.
Yeah,
I'll
that
send
would
it
be,
out.
I mean, that would,
Take it
that's
right out of the
what I
bylaws,
was after,
yeah.
more than putting it in the
Yeah,
trumpeter,
it's
just
right
so
out of
we
the
would
bylaws,
know.
so I'll just make a copy. Kate?
We can include it in the weekly report too.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be easy. Okay, well, put it in the weekly report, and I'll just make sure everybody gets that individually too, Bill. Good idea. Anything further from The executive committee or the floor before we go around the table? Very good. Mr. Yes, sir. Go ahead. That's what I'm asking for. Yes, that's what I'm asking for. Yep.
This is down for short people. On a personal note, I just want to thank everyone who reached out to me on the health of my wife. She's doing very well. I can tell you that diabetes is a bad thing. Some of you probably go through the same thing. And don't ignore the signs. I can tell you that my wife did ignore the signs for many years, and she's suffering the consequences by, going from walking normal to going into a wheelchair. Thankfully, with physical therapy, we got her to a walker, and a little bit with a cane, and I'm hoping with additional physical therapy, we get her back on her feet regularly again. I could also tell you, as the guy who goes around and preaches mental wellness, that both of us were in a very dark place earlier this year, and I had to heed to my own advice and reach out and realize where we were and kind of bring both of us back to normal. And I can tell you that we're both doing very well. So I thank everyone that did reach out and continue to reach out and say, "How's Gloria doing? How's Gloria doing?" And it's just good to report that she is doing very well. So and thankful to my daughter who's kind of backing me up when I can't be around. Everybody says, "Well, you're always gone." I said, well, if you look at my travel schedule, I can tell you I haven't been gone this year as much as previous years because things got canceled, and for good reason. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, and again on a personal note, November 14th, I got a kick in the gut. As the guy that goes around and kicks, it talks about mental wellness. When I got the call the afternoon of November 14th to find out a member of my own fire company committed suicide, it was a kick in the gut. And even as much as I preached it in my own department, around the state, around the country, we all suffer sometimes with the demons that hide within our brains. And as much as preaching we can do. And I want to thank everyone that did reach out. I can tell you that in Anne Arundel County, we got some excellent help. We had 4 or 5 companies that come and staffed our station that day and that night so that our folks could grieve. And the same way the day of the funeral services, we had 4 or 5 companies that staffed our station that day and that night so that our members could participate in that and not felt the burden. The electric sign in front of our station holds his name, and we'll hold that probably till next week because we're actually getting that sign torn down and we're getting a new LED sign. But it's a terrible thing. And as I told my people, we preach 911 every day. We also need to remember 988. Yep. But we also can preach that all it takes is to reach out, and somebody is there to reach out to. And we're taught as firefighters to learn that if we get in trouble in a fire ground, we call a mayday. And we need to think about that same way with our own mental health, that sometimes we need to call that mental health mayday, and reach out and call for help. Because as I go around and saying, it's okay to say I'm not okay. So again, I want to thank everyone for reaching out on the health of my wife, everyone for reaching out for members of my department on what we can there. And I wanted to offer that up under good of the order, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dave. Glad to hear as far as her recoveries, and certainly keep her in the prayers and keep the Odenton Fire Department and really our entire fire service for these issues in our prayers and thoughts. Okay, anything else from the floor or the executive committee? Okay, Randy, excuse me, Pastor John.
Brings you greetings.
Wait a minute, John just came up, stand by. Yep, Chapman snuck on, there we go.
Monday, I got a phone call from our bank, and they wanted me to come by and look at a check they had received. Somebody had created checks on a computer with our bank account number and tried to send it in. Fortunately, the bank stopped it because we require 2 signatures on our checks. And so the check was totally fake for not having 2 signatures, but what was amazing about it is they had our check information. And when I called our VFIS insurance agent, we're the 4th companies that had this done this year. So, yeah, keep an eye out on your checking accounts and make sure. I don't know why you wouldn't have a checking account and not have two signatures on it, but not having that second signature on our check paid off greatly. And also my signature, I don't know if they can't make a G, but when they signed my name to that check, they didn't have a G in it, so that was a trigger too. But just a heads up that 4 companies that have VFI insurance in Maryland have been screwed over, so keep an eye on it.
And fraud right now is everywhere. It's horrible, it really is. Thank you, John, for that reminder. Mr. Smith, okay, I think we're ready now. Okay, Randy.
I got you back.
Make sure you're back. Keep an eye on. Want to thank Westminster for being a wonderful host to us this weekend. Everything was great. I'll bring you greetings from President Hassler, Southern Maryland Volunteer Firemen Association, our members and officers. We want to wish everybody a safe journey home. We also want to wish everybody good health and happy, enjoyable holidays. Be safe. Thank you.
Yeah, I too want to thank Westminster. We had an outstanding meeting here this weekend. Also, from two of my associations, the Kent and Queen Anne Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, we are having issues with membership, so we have knocked our meetings down to 2 a year. One is they're going to start happening in May. For the memorial service, be the 3rd Wednesday, and then the Hall of Fame be the 3rd Wednesday in November. Hall of Fame and past President's Night, and those are going to be the only 2 meetings that we have through the year. So with that being said, I am the chairman of the Fire and EMS Commission for Queen Anne's County. So I can take care of the Queen Anne's County part, and I'll check with my fellow people with Caroline and with Kent County. But we meet the first Thursday of every month at between 7:15 and 7 o'clock. And anyone wishing to come speak to our group is more than welcome. Just give me a holler and let me know that you're coming, and we'll make time for you. I also was asked by the Queen Anne's County Department of Emergency Services Director Scott Haas. They were in charge of the Bay Bridge walk and run this past couple weeks ago, and he wanted me to extend for the Frederick County area. United Steam Fire Engine Company 3, they brought ATV 3, and please do not kill me if I get these names pronounced wrong, but it was Jacob and Sam Dimochowski.
I did it for you, Bill.
Thank you, sir. And then that was for bringing ATV 3, and from the Brunswick Volunteer Ambulance and Rescue Company, Ambulance 197 and 198, Cassie Goodman, Lori Boyer, Nicole Fisher, Andrew Davis, and Steve White. They wanted to say they were really appreciative of their help, and they're more than welcome to come back anytime. They will be reaching out to them at the next one. And on behalf of myself and all the officers and members of the ones that I represent, we want to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday and safe travels home. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello to everybody. Bring greetings from Dorchester County's President Sam Yockey and Talbot County's President Mr. Phil Starkey. They send their best wishes for everybody here today. Dorchester and Talbot are still having their meetings on every other month basis. They are the even months of the year, so the next meeting for Dorchester will be actually tomorrow night, December the 4th. Talbot County will be Wednesday week, December the 13th. I would personally like to say thank you to the host company. It's been a very pleasant and wonderful meeting that we've had here. They've hosted. Couldn't ask for anything any better, that's for sure. Beyond that, I would just like to hope on behalf of myself that everyone has a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holiday, however you would like to see it. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon. Westminster, thank you. Congratulations on 200 years. I did attend the event in the rain, but it was very well attended. It showed how much support that this organization has. As for Carroll County, take small steps. This is not an easy transition. We've all been through it. But please, please stay very much involved in the development of what's happening in your county. Keep the volunteers' names. Stay volunteer. Say it all the time. It's very, very important to continue to show your support for the volunteers. Change is not easy, and you guys are right in the middle of it. We are still going through some changing. Montgomery County has not selected a new fire chief, and that is hampering my volunteer participation as we move forward through policies and procedures. So it's very important to stay involved. Again, Westminster, congratulations, and thank you for the host.
Thank you very much. Echo the comments. Again, Westminster is a great facility. Thank CC Visa for the hospitality assistance they gave on Friday night. The museum, I would search everybody before they leave to make sure there's nothing missing from your museum. But again, you have a great facility, great tradition here, and we're really appreciative. We've heard from President Sue Mott. Her leadership in Carroll County continues to be very positive. She continues to look after the volunteer service here in the county, again, to make sure our voice is heard. Bring you greetings from President Mickey Day from Howard County. They continue to work through the budget process and some other issues in the county. But again, the important thing is that they're meeting, they're communicating, and they're doing their best in Howard County. Thank you all very much for coming to Carroll County, and we look forward to, again, hosting you when Charlie Simpson becomes president in the next couple of years. Thank you again.
Thanks to Westminster. I echo what everybody has said. It was a great meeting, and we appreciated being here, and the hospitality was awesome. Greetings from Washington County. We continue to work very hard to bring our first EMS companies over to county employment. I think that's going to come to fruition sometime mid-January to early February. We'll have 2 companies that transition to being the volunteer companies will be supported by county personnel in the station, and hopefully others will come along after that. That's probably the biggest news we have out of Washington County. It's been a long time coming. But other than that, I hope to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday season and safe travels home.
Good morning. It's almost afternoon. Thank you, Westminster, for your hospitality and, more importantly, the camaraderie that has been shown opening your doors to your museum. I first went in there yesterday and I kind of slipped a little bit on the floor, and I found out that Doyle Cox was in there ahead of me and he drooled all over the place. So, without being said, greetings from our president, Sue Bollinger from the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association, and Fire Chief Joanne Rund, who has announced the relocation of the Catonsville Fire Station, the little dinky 2-bay fire station right there on Frederick Road. They're going to move over to Edmondson Avenue. If anyone is familiar with the area, there was a large white building that was a funeral home. It's called Sterling Ashton Funeral Home. Large piece of property. That's where the new fire station for Catonsville will be located by the year 2025, 2026. The current little dinky fire station will be turned into a museum. And once again, I will probably have to take a mop and a bucket and follow Doyle around and make sure everything's okay. Happy holidays to everyone. Spend it with your family. Hug them, kiss them, tell them you love them. It is that time. We should be doing that every day, actually. To Fire Marshal Brian, I don't know how to thank you for the job and the stuff that you've gone through in your tenure, but believe me, you've blazed a trail, and whoever's next in the loop, they got some big shoes to fill, brother. And if you're in Fort Myers, I'll look you up because they have baseball spring training down there, and I'm there. Okay. In speaking with the chief chaplain, please review your deaths in your districts and make sure the paperwork gets submitted to him by February number 1. I have 11 names on the list from Baltimore County, paperwork he has received and acknowledged on the website. In searching the other night and going through our digest, we always have a memorial page. I've got 19 people to add to my 11. We have lost 30 members in Baltimore County this year. And 19 presidents have not yet submitted. So Dougie's on a warpath. I will be at our meetings and just beating on them to please remember those who have gone before us but have set up what we enjoy today. God bless everybody. Happy holidays. And I hope I got a couple smiles out of the suit. It's good to see you. And I beat out Chip Carey, too, so. That's what they all say.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. I bring you greetings from Prince George's County. As I'm the president, you have my greetings as the president of the association. I'd like to thank Westminster, too, for their hospitality in hosting this executive committee meeting, and I enjoyed the museum. It's enlightening to see that. I've always liked seeing pictures of people, that have gone before us, to people who we have actually stood on their shoulders to get where we are today. So I appreciate that from Westminster. The next meeting for the Prince George's County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association will be on the 13th of December. That will be hosted by Mount Rainier at Station 55. That's the station on Rhode Island Avenue. During that meeting, we participate in the Toys for Tots program. We encourage our members to donate bicycles to the Toys for Tots. They will be collected on that day, and they will be on display during the meeting before they're loaded to take them to the Toys for Tots. The Ladies Auxiliary meeting of the Prince George's County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association will be on the 7th of December. That will be at Bladensburg. I would like to thank people, as we just finished our special tribute, all the people in this room that came to the special tribute. Unfortunately, my dear friend Chuck Walker was unable to survive long enough to be tributed, but him and his wife Sharon were tributed. So all of you that came, I really appreciate the support from this association. On a little bit lighter note, Forestville and Laurel are going to have their all-you-can-eat breakfasts on the 10th of December. I believe they're from 9 to 12. If you're in the area, come out and see them and support Laurel. Other than that, I thank you all. I wish you all a happy holiday season and a very happy new year.
I'd like to begin, as everyone else, and thank Westminster for the hospitality. It's been great, and I don't know about everybody else, but that chicken yesterday was fantastic. Wow. And I did want to take the opportunity today. I have the antlers off your deer, so. Look at that man. Continuing on, one thing that's rather disturbing sitting here is look out at the audience right now. It is very, very pitiful that we have 350 companies and the number of people that are here. First of all, please, I applaud those of you that are here. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your interest. But we need to get more people in here. We need to have, whatever hall we're in, Saturday and Sunday, needs to be packed. And we've talked about it all weekend. We continue talking about it. We talk about recruitment, retention. I don't know, but we got to do something, because everybody in here, I hate to say it, if anybody's under 30, please raise your hand and be proud, because there's not many. Thank you. Thank you. Fire Marshal, it's been great working with you. We accomplished some things in legislature. We've worked together with MIFRE and the Fire Marshal's office. Congratulations on your career. Wish you well in the future. The associations, 3 associations that I represent, Harford County, still meeting monthly. Cecil County is meeting monthly also. Dale DeWeese is now president of Cecil County, and Harford Cecil's meeting bi-monthly, and Robbie Mueller's president there. With that, happy holidays to everybody, and I know we have many, many people, but I still believe in Merry Christmas.
Good afternoon. I talked to the president of Westminster out in the hallway and personally thanked him for a fantastic weekend, but I want to convey that to all the members of Westminster for hosting the executive committee meeting this weekend. It's been a fabulous time here. Also, back in April, shortly, well, right after the spring conference, the officers came over to their 200th anniversary banquet, and it was an honor to recognize Westminster for the fabulous milestone of 200 years of service to not only to Westminster, but Carroll County as well. To Brian Geraci, thank you, sir. It's been a privilege as I've gone through the chairs and last year as president of working with you for everything. And Brian, it means a lot. I always think you're a good friend and always will be a good friend, and I wish you well in Florida as you retire. I'm going to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
We started in the morning and it is now afternoon. If you think that I'm going to sit here and hold up lunch and dismissal any further, it's not going to happen. Greetings from Allegheny and Garrett. If you're traveling out west, the meeting next Sunday will be located in Westernport, Potomac, instead of Bloomington. There was a scheduling conflict there. On behalf of President Dayton, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and if you want to venture out west next week, come on out.
Thank you, Tim. And I also want to thank Westminster for the hospitality this weekend, and also for the honor of participating in your 200th anniversary. I was quite honored to be asked to be a part of it, and that was great. So thank you very much, Dan. I happened to be out. I was telling a story. I actually worked for Fred's brother, Ed Plunkett, years ago, dipping ice cream at Ebert's Ice Cream in Frederick. I'm not going to tell you how many years, but it wasn't 200. And Brian, again, you've heard it, but thank you for your dedication and commitment to the people of Maryland, and thank you for your friendship. We will miss you, but your well-deserved retirement, sir. Frederick County meeting will be January the 18th. We also hired an actual position for our volunteers for training. We have now a volunteer training coordinator, retired Captain Tim Shelton, who was career, but is a lifetime volunteer in Frederick, officer of the junior fire company, and has been for many, many years, and a very good friend. So I think he'll be a great asset to the fire service in Frederick County, and a good advocate for the volunteers. With that, I'll turn it over to the second vice president.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to put out a special thank you to President Danny Plunkett and all his staff, those that did all the work here getting ready and Continue to do so for an excellent, great weekend. I'd also like to try to say something, not only have they done a great job, but Mr. Chairman, you've done a great job keeping this thing moving, and thank you very much. I know I used to work with you many years ago in communications. It was always difficult to keep you settled down, but you've done great this weekend, so thank you very much. Is that what it was? I opened that up, didn't I? Oh, okay. The other is one we always tend to kind of miss is our data IT people and the great job that they've done with not only the audio portion here in this weekend, but anybody that's been watching this on YouTube, and I've been watching some of this, it's been great. You guys have done a great job, and I thank you very much and appreciate the work you've done. One other thing that I'd like to do, and I know we've talked about this in the past, all of our executive committee members, our committee chairs, and so on like that, I'd like to see if you could take and go online on the msfa.org website, go log in, go to the events page, and there's a place where you can submit events calendar. The information that we've been receiving as to the meetings, our committee meetings coming up, our county, various association meetings and so on like that can be posted on that calendar. And it certainly would be a great big help to all of us, our committee personnel, our various members of the association, and certainly the leadership here to see what's going on, to be able to select and move forward. So I wish all of you a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and pass it on to my, I guess you're going to be the first vice president or president next year. The Guard of the Ladies Auxiliary. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Check this out. 2 mics in a row that won't go turn off and won't go into. They're locked. How do you lock them?
Because I locked them.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman. We always lock these ones so they can't
Thank you
turn
for
them on
a
or
wonderful meeting. To Westminster, my heartfelt thanks for the hospitality you've shown us, for your wonderful facility. And I felt like I belonged when I walked in the museum and saw all those wooden ground ladders. Because my first ladder company I was signed to had every one of them. And it was like home. It was like being home. You could lay your hand on it. It was really good. To the executive committee, great job, guys, gals. Great job. You worked well. You worked hard. To you people out there, the reason for our being in existence, for being here, he stole my what I was going to say, but then again, he always did when he was teaching with me. Even when we burnt the drive-in theater screen down. But what Steve said is true. A lot of important stuff was discussed today. You people care. You're here, preaching to the choir. You're here. That's why. But to all of you, great weekend. Great weekend. Even though I did put my foot in my mouth, and we finally decided last night that I was going to run for president. I kind of like the job of guard, but president sounded a little better, Have a safe holiday. What Doug said. Remember family. Family's all we got, Gag. We're family here. But truly, remember family this holiday. Tell them you love them. You might fight like dogs, but tell them you love them. And remember, be safe. Listen to what you've heard about Christmas tree safety. Don't make it a holiday that ends up being draped in black crepe. Be there, enjoy. Merry Christmas. I'm old school. I'll say it till the day I die. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever term we're using now for the modern generation. You know, but remember the reason that we're celebrating. It ain't the tree. It's not deer. Rudolph. You know. Remember the reason and be thankful. Be thankful for each and every one of us that are here. I love you all. Huh?
There's another letter. There's another sounds like that you didn't say, so thank you.
Chip and Skip. and now I'll turn it over to my leader, my idol, and the person that I'm trying to follow.
Well, I'm going to give the ladies an opportunity. Ladies. Joan, you have anything?
Thank you very much to Westminster. It was a great weekend. We really appreciate it. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas from the auxiliary.
Well, what an enjoyable 3 days. Danny, I want to say thank you to your crew for allowing us to be a part of your 200 years of celebration here for the department here and administering care and fire services to the citizens of Carroll County and Westminster. That's an awesome feat. I'm glad that I was able to give you a couple presentations and your crystal jug go into your museum. That way you don't have to have Skip in there. So, you know, so that's good. But I do want to, before we leave, give your folks a huge round of applause for everything that you've done here this weekend. So, I know they all scattered back in the kitchen to try to get us out, but there was a lot of good information this weekend. We deal with the pitfalls that we deal with. You know, this is the time of the season that we really need to reach out to our loved ones and check in on them and make sure that they're okay. That suicide risk gets greater in the holidays, that loneliness sets in. We've had a few members here that's lost loved ones throughout the year. Please take a couple minutes out of your time and make a phone call. I want you to be safe in your travels as you go around the state and travel around. Next year, we were supposed to be in Snow Hill. They ran into a snag, so I want to make the announcement here. We will be going to Pocomoke for our February meeting. They have graciously accepted our invitation. On Friday, we will have a opening reception at the Discovery Center to kind of highlight the Lower Eastern Shore. They have opened their doors to us. That will start at 6 o'clock, so that'll be a little bit different. So we're supporting both the Discovery Center down there as well as the Pocomoke Fire Department. I want to say thank you in advance for them. This all happened since Friday with the change, and you know, we're the fire service. If we can't pivot and make a change, there's something wrong, and we did that. But you know, I'm halfway through my term already. And I want to say thank you not only to the auxiliary, but to the members of this association, the committee chairs and committee personnel, the executive committee, Chip, my presidents, vice presidents over here. There's a lot of moving parts. Kate, Lynn, include you guys in that to make us work. And the outside interests see what we do here in Maryland, and we've opened up that dialogue because people want to know what we're doing and how we do it, and we get it right. So I want to say thank you to everyone. Come January, we get kicked into high gear for the convention. It'll be here, and you know, I'm glad of the two men that's coming behind me, but somebody's got to dip their toe in the water and step up to the plate and be our second vice president. We don't have that yet. Brian, thank you very much for everything that you've done as a fellow ex-state employee. It feels good to be on the other side, trust me. A lot less phone calls, so thank you for everything that you've done for MSFA, the state of Maryland, the citizens of Maryland, and your friendship. And I wish you nothing but the best, and kick your feet up and relax, because you've earned it. You know, there's some people that they probably borrow from going to Florida. But that's what makes us work. We got to have fun. You know, we banter at each other a little bit, and we have fun, and we make it work. And that's what family is all about. And as we get ready to move into our holiday season, I want to take and express my views and say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas. We won't see you until after the new year. Have a happy, safe new year, and wherever you're traveling. We want to see you back next year. And just take time to enjoy your family over the holidays and be safe in whatever we do. But President Plunkett, I have a little token here on behalf of MSFA to add to your cadre. But I'm going to say thank you very much. You guys were stellar here all weekend, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to be a part of your 200th anniversary. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, Merry Christmas, everybody. Oh, one other thing, our Christmas party for MSFA is the 16th at Lewistown, and we're starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're more than welcome. It's right off of Route 15. I will make sure that we get that into the newsletter so everybody can see that. We'd love to have you. But be careful, and Merry Christmas.
Anything else for the good of the order? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. See you in February. You do it now.
We got to do it.
Yes. And the chaplain will do the benediction.
Before we do the benediction, I'd like to have Brian come up, please. Yes, you. I'm filling big shoes because Charlie's not here. I was hoping Charlie would do this, but let's pray. Almighty God, we are so blessed with having Brian serve as the State Fire Marshal for these years, Father, for his service throughout the state, for protecting and saving lives, for using the gifts you've given him, Father. Father, now as he sets on his new chapter in life, Father, we ask for good health and longevity so he can enjoy his retirement. Father God, we ask you to be with him and his wife as they enjoy their new life together in Florida. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen. Yep. Now we'll do the benediction. Almighty God, we thank you for this weekend, Father. We thank you for the wisdom you bestowed on the members of the Executive Committee, Father. We thank you for all the committee members who gave the reports and for their dedication to the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Father, now as we get ready to prepare to travel back to our residence, Father, we ask for safe travels and protection as we drive. Father, watch after those who are responding to calls, protect and guide them and bring them home safely. And most importantly, Father, watch after our military folks, providing the freedoms that we are able to be here this weekend. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.